Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new stream. Make sure you guys like the stream down below. As we get started, subscribe if you're new. We have an election tonight between Herschel Walker on the Republican side, Raphael Warnock, the incumbent senator for the Democrats in the state of Georgia. Neither of them got 50% in round one, and this will determine who will become the senator here approximately 27 days or so, or 28 days actually, away from the initial midterm election, which was kind of a little bit of a disappointment in many places of the country. Not the whole country, but it shows that the Republicans are yet again in shambles. They had a red trickle across middle America. They had a red wave in Florida, red wave in New York, even California or so, but still, long way to go. This party does not know how to win. They need to learn how to win. And they can't win with the current leadership that they have, the leadership that works overtime to sabotage certain candidates. They're not team players. We'll see what happens tonight if Herschel Walker can pull off a miracle. It's not necessarily looking good for him by any metric, by the polls we've seen. Not like the polls are accurate in any direction anymore. But also, yes, the betting odds so far, 94-6 for Raphael Warnock. It's going to take a miracle for Herschel Walker to pull across the finish line, which, again, I think is possible if some of the anecdotes we heard about extremely high election day turnout were actually true. But still, there's a lot that we don't know. And the results are going to come in. I would encourage people not to get their hopes too high, but we're still going to analyze them. We'll see what happens. But this is going to be the 51st seat for the Democrats if they can pull through. If not, and Herschel pulls off the upset, well, then we know what's going to happen. We know that he is going to basically be in a prime position to be that 50th senator, and now he has taken the lead. First results pour in out of two counties. Brantley County 50% in, Herschel up 89-11. Grady County 53% in, Herschel up 59-41. Now we'll have to see what's going to happen. We'll have to look at the round one totals, and these could be early votes, these could be election day votes. Brantley County, keep in mind, Herschel got 90% in round one. So if that is the early vote, that's good news for him. If that is the election day vote, he's struggling with turnout and it's not going to end too well. So we'll have to see. Right now, that's just two counties reporting 50% of their votes. He has a 3,000 vote lead. But we have a long way to go. We're probably going to be counting ballots over the next couple of hours or so. Feel free to send in super chats as well. I'll be answering your guys' questions as the stream goes on. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel as well. So we'll see what happens. We got a long way to go. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of questions in chat talking about 2024, talking about what's going on tonight. Do I believe there are any implications on it? Probably not. Maybe if Herschel wins, you could say, well, it was a good night for Republicans, and maybe they finally, actually tried to turn out in high numbers because they know that, things are at stake now. But other than that, I don't believe that this race in and of itself has any implications for 2024, at least compared to how many implications that the midterms had, because you look at what's going on there. And Donald Trump, in many places, his candidates fell a little bit short. And then they decided to go off and blame him for literally everything, as they usually do, because they can never take blame for themselves. So he definitely has lost some ground because conservative media has started to attack him more. I don't know if that is going to hold throughout 2024. He is already running. We'll see what happens with DeSantis. We don't have any answer as to if he's going to run or not, but we'll have to wait and see. So Herschel dropped a little bit. More votes came in. I don't know where they came in from. Apparently they came in from Twiggs County. 50% of Twiggs County is in. Twiggs County is a Republican county. Those votes came in slightly Democrat. So if those are early votes versus election day votes, that could make the difference. We'll just have to wait and see as more of these votes pour in here. But we got a long way to go. Herschel's up by 30%, but this is very early. There are no votes in from the Atlanta Metro or Columbus or Augusta or Athens or Savannah. So we'll have to wait and see. There's just a lot that we don't have right now, a lot of data. But All right, we'll see. I'm going to read some of the super chats in the meantime as we wait for more results to pour in here, and we'll continue to wait for them. So let's see. You can pull up some of the super chats, make sure that we're not missing any, because some of you guys have already sent them. Thomas Bradshaw says, people who but Trump no like Constitution don't understand what Trump was saying and are bad actors. This is very true. Trafalgar trying to save face with the new poll. Yeah, they'll probably take the data for progress route and vastly overestimate the Democrats in an attempt to, remain credible. And even I was critiquing Trafalgar throughout the entire election process. They put out polls that had Washington as a pure toss-up, Vermont as like competitive in the Senate race, and it wasn't even close. So we'll see. All New Year 2020 says, who are some of your favorite world leaders besides Trump? Top 3. I like Orban. I like Bolsonaro a lot down in Brazil. Duda's great in Poland. There's several world leaders that I do like. I would say that you could argue that they're more effective or were more effective than Trump was during his presidency, and it kind of does give hope to the future for, Trump-like or supercharged Trump-like leaders. So a big vote dump out of Fulton County. 53% of Fulton County's in. Raphael Warnock up 82-18 out of Fulton County. That is Atlanta. So over half the vote from Atlanta is in. They're counting the ballots quickly when they've been putting them in so that, they get credit where it's due in Georgia. Brian Kemp did work a little bit on that system there. So looking at the results there, Fulton County, Walker got 25. So if those are early votes, Walker might gain in the coming dumps, but again, who really knows? And if not, and if he doesn't gain, it's pretty much game over. And Raphael Warnock would have basically defeated him then and there, because if he's underperforming by 10 points in nearly every county, there just is no path forward. But we'll have to wait and see. Herschel gained 0.2%. I guess another rural county dropped their votes, or Richmond County, 58% of Augusta is already in. Augusta, that county went 68-30 for Warnock last time. Now it's 79-21 for Warnock. But again, if that's the early vote, the remainder of the ballots will be more Walker favorable, but will it be by enough to make a difference? Not entirely sure. So Cherokee County dropped. That's probably one of the only counties within striking distance of Atlanta that still manages to vote Republican. You have Polk County, 5% of that is in. But you have Cherokee County, that's 45% in. Walker netted 10,000 votes. He gained about, how many exactly? Oh, 62-38. So compare that, 68-29. So if that is early vote, then Walker's not having a bad showing so far. Keyword is not having a bad showing. We'll refresh the betting odds, and they're pretty much stagnant, but who knows what's going to happen. A lot of uncertainty out here. So we'll look at the super chats. Okay, we already did. We do. AJ Ackley says Warnock wins after 3 a.m. I don't know if we read that one yet. Stephen Knizik says, I will make it a matter of honor. I will help any primary challenger to McConnell in 26. Mitch deliberately lost the Senate by sending money to Alaska instead of Georgia and Nevada, where it might have mattered. Yeah, and he poured a bunch into Ohio, which, again, didn't really need that money anyways. Maybe it was a point or two closer than expected, but still, I mean, judging how poorly the Democrats did, even putting forth their best candidate that they possibly had, again, there was a lot of money dumped into places where it did not belong, and not a lot of money dumped into places where they needed it. Herschel Walker got outspent 3-1 in round one. You could say, oh, he has scandals. He can't talk, in the most well-spoken manner. He's a lot better than Fetterman, by the way, who won. But like either way, it's just psyop after psyop from the establishment, and you can't fall victim to it. You can't exactly cave into these people because they're not going to learn. We need to get rid of the McEstablishment. Kevin McCarthy needs to go. I don't think he will. And yes, if Trump endorsed him, it doesn't matter. Honestly, that's a bad endorsement. See, I critique Trump. People say that I don't because they're morons who try to, fit a narrative that they can get in. But either way, McConnell needs to go. I think everybody agrees on that. Trump even agrees on that now. I wish he agreed a little bit earlier. And then Ronna McDaniel, who has been an utter train wreck, she needs to go. Again, you have a Romney in charge of the Republican Party. Just remember that Ronna Romney McDaniel. She's not exactly cut from that much of a different cloth. Obviously, she might talk up a big game, or, oh, she happens to vaguely support Trump. It doesn't exactly matter, but it's true. Dallas Suck 69 says, I think the Republicans don't know what to do when they get power and only know how to operate as an opposition party because they'll only have controlled all the House and Senate a handful of times since 33 Thoughts. Well, they're just bought and sold by the same establishment that the Democrats are, and that's why they don't do anything when they take power. I mean, that's pretty much it. They want to be liked at these dinner parties where they can hobnob with the donors. And if you have authentic candidates put forward that might go a little bit against the grain, they will kick them to the curb as fast as they possibly can. So, Douglas County, 70-30 Warnock, 68% of the vote is in. Douglas County went 65-33. So, we don't know if these are early numbers or election day numbers. That's the thing. And if they are early numbers, it's not looking too bad for Herschel. But if they're election day numbers, not looking too good. So I'm sure we're honestly getting a mix of them here. Michael Kearney says, what is your prediction for the speaker's race? I expect that McCarthy's going to find a way to retain the majority leader / speakership role. That's pretty much the way I see it right now. I mean, I don't know who else is going to really take up that mantle, and too much infighting they're going to have is probably going to really hurt them. So they're going to have to fall in line behind somebody, and the establishment will always find a way to get their way. It's unfortunate. I'd rather have Andy Biggs, but he won that blind vote by a ridiculous margin. And again, if we didn't have these blind votes for speaker or party leadership positions, then we'd be a lot better off. We'd know who to trust, and we'd know who not to trust. So here we go. Not a lot's entirely changed. Warnock is still up 65-35. Again, a lot of suburban Atlanta's in Clayton County. 4% of the vote is in. Warnock has a massive lead in Clayton. Clayton is also a very heavily Democrat area, large black population there. And you know, those numbers, again, it depends. We'll have to see when all the votes are counted. But 13% of the vote is in. If the remainder of the ballots are election day votes, Herschel has a chance. I don't know if he'll have enough of a chance to make up the margins, but the slim chance could be there. It's not looking too great for him. The betting odds are pretty much stagnant, but okay, we saw movement. Not much movement. He's at 36 now. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, absolutely. You're looking at this election map here. Georgia's not the state it used to be. And many people for, the past couple of years have said it's salvageable. It's very possible that the state of Georgia could stay a red state for years to come. I honestly don't see it. And I think that this is proof. It's not like it's a vote red no matter whose state anymore. You have Raphael Warnock up there at the top of the ticket, expressed very far left positions his entire career. It's not even like he LARPs as a moderate. I mean, he's kind of pivoted a little bit this election cycle, but still, the fact that he's being elected against Herschel Walker, who was once a hometown hero, it kind of does speak volumes. Now, the state of Georgia is not what it used to be. I mean, even in 2012, some of the suburbs around Atlanta moved left. And even though Kemp won by a decent margin, a lot of those suburbs moved to the left significantly from Trump's win in 2016, which was, again, not the biggest pro-Republican margin in the state. It was a 5-point win. Kemp won by, 7? So Herschel gained some votes there. He gained another vote dump. He's at 38. So we'll see. Okay, so he keeps gaining in these vote dumps. I don't know where they're coming from. I think there were some vote dumps in Paulding County. Again, that's northwestern Atlanta. Paulding is still a Republican area, very exurban, kind of rural, dipping into those rurals there. outside of Atlanta, probably like 40, 50 miles outside from what I can tell. And that county is starting to pour in as well. So you see some more of the populated red counties, whatever red counties that are left. Nothing out of Cobb or Gwinnett. Those are going to be counties that are going to heavily favor, or I wouldn't say heavily favor in the percentage-wise margins, even though they will be substantial margins. But in terms of the raw votes, they will heavily favor Raphael Warnock. So we'll see. GK Chesterton says Dave Wasserman just called it for Warnock. Did he really? I'm not surprised entirely if this is going to be an early call, but it is still very early. But if he called it, I mean, he called it. It probably, like I said, it's gonna go to Warnock. We know that. And no, I don't think Herschel Walker was like the greatest candidate of all time. I've never said that. I thought that he had some good things going for him, given the fact that he was an outsider, a hometown hero, etc. But the outsider bit kind of arguably may have been a big factor in this. But beyond that point, it really does seem as if you have a lot of people that are going to say, well, Trump this yet again. I know you're going to have all these people saying this is another stain on Trump's endorsement record or his legacy. And I don't know. We'll have to see. Now, people are saying that he didn't call it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why people would say stuff like that. I mean, come on. If he actually didn't call it, then he didn't call it. But we'll correct the record. He didn't call it, so it's not over. I still think Warnock is favored. Don't get me wrong, but we'll see. But the betting odds are 97-4, and you can't always go off of the betting odds, but they haven't really looked the best. They haven't looked the best for him. It is possible that this could get called earlier, but we need counties that are mostly in order to really gauge that. And I don't know what counties really are mostly in. Brantley County is like 80-some% in. So, not entirely sure. And it's what, Walker plus 80-something, 82? Which that's in line with round one. So, okay, we do have a county that's all the way in. Oh, Brantley is all the way in, or it says it's mostly in. 92-8. So, he actually gained from round one in Brantley County. Now, it's just one county, but Brantley County, if I could find it here, it's somewhere down in the south. 90-8. So he's at 92. So that's an improvement for Herschel. So good for him in that county, but that's just one county. There's a lot more counties here to go. 17% reported, and we don't have Cobb or Gwinnett in. We have the Fulton early vote in. We don't have the DeKalb early vote in. So we'll really have to just wait here. Endeavor25 says, Georgia's a red state. People don't know how to vote. Well, the Republicans don't know how to play the game the Democrats do. We can play it legally and be more successful as a result, but they don't do it for some reason. They don't want to win in many cases, or they just don't know how. And it's a problem when you don't have, you have to take advantage of early voting or ballot harvesting in the cases where it's legal, like California. Republicans got their act together after 2018, and a lot of these down ballot races, they started running the table with them. And you saw Biden plus 10 districts out of nowhere flip Republican. New York, they got their act together. You saw what happened. Georgia, I mean, the election system itself kind of changed a little bit, but I mean, they still have to play to win. And these counties suing to have these lawsuits that restricted early voting in those counties because of their lawsuits. And if Walker falls just short tonight, they're the ones to blame for that being the case. Because in a lot of these red counties, the early vote would have broken a little bit more for the Republicans. But that's beside the point. That we know. So he's approaching 40 as more votes do pour in. I'm not entirely sure where they've been pouring in from. There's more counties that are being filled out on the map. Washington County, I don't know where Washington is. It's Walker plus 0.2. It's apparently all the way in. Washington County, I'm not entirely sure where that is. But that one's all the way in. Walker won it by 2 apparently. I don't know exactly where it's located. It's not the biggest county, but he did win it. So we'll see. Sam Madsen says, do you still think Arizona's more salvageable than Georgia? Absolutely. I mean, after this year, I don't know. If there's massive changes to how Republicans take advantage of the elections in Arizona, it's possible. But they have a long way to go. They had a decent slate overall of candidates. They're going to say that they didn't, but they did. Carrie Lake was a star in many regards. She still is a star and has some form of a political future. But the state in and of itself, I mean, they voted to give in-state tuition to illegal aliens in the state, among a lot of other very liberal policies that pass through down ballot on these initiatives. They also rejected voter ID. So that electorate that was voting was not the Arizona we knew and loved. And that's another problem. And Republicans, again, need to take advantage of the electoral system, especially early on, more so. And if they did, whatever mishaps took place on 11-8 would not have exactly mattered at the end of the day. At least in comparison. I'm not saying they wouldn't have mattered, but at least in comparison, it would have been much, much less of a negative impact. So, okay, Walker's at 42. Let's check the betting odds right now. He's still at 4 cents. Not looking good in the betting odds. Michael Duggan says Walker won nearly 70% of the primary vote. It's not like Trump picked Walker. He was always going to win the primary. Blaming Trump won't fix the GOP. They won't. They won't. Based Alaskan says you like the term disimp when you're Trump simp number one. Again, that's not true. And I've critiqued Trump probably on 5 or 6 occasions throughout this live stream, which has only been 22 minutes long. And you could go back and you could analyze it. The difference between the Trump 2024 supporters who view him as the best option and the disimps is that the Trump supporters will still critique Trump and, some of the things that he's done throughout his administration while still understanding he's the best option comparatively on policy and among other things. Meanwhile, the disimps will have no other conviction now. They haven't had a conviction since the election besides hate Donald Trump, in some cases call for his head, which I've seen on social media. And I've said all these awful things about him, say that everybody that likes him still is in a cult, they're a cultist, and they're just not all people that support DeSantis over Trump are like this, but they're a very large segment. And a lot of the, people that are in DeSantis's corner that are trying to push him to run for president, they're not your America First type of people. They're not your MAGA, disaffected MAGA who are disaffected with some of, Trump's antics or whatever. This is Fox News, Daily Wire, the whole GOP establishment at this point. And there might be some good people in the establishment who, again, disagree. Like, for example, Michael Knowles, he supports Trump in 2024. He works at the Daily Wire. But there's a lot of people at these outlets, even Breitbart now, who just have gone full anti-Trump mode. And it's incredible. Let's see. So Walker is gaining a little bit as more votes pour in. Let's see if any counties are also 95% done. Again, Washington is, which again, I'm not entirely sure where that is, but the needle's not up. The needle's not up for some reason, which I find strange. The needle's not working, but we're 20% in. FX Caliber 2514 says, call me a doomer, but I don't think the GOP stands a chance going forward as long as harvesting and mail-ins are allowed. Well, like I said, they have to play the game. They're winning in California districts they haven't won in decades. They're winning big in Florida. They're winning big in many places across the country, but in many places, they're just incompetent. They don't have proper mechanics in order to win. That's where the fight lies between now and the primaries even, is getting new leadership at the GOP. We'll see who the new chairperson is, but that is a big problem. So Redneck Ram says, see, this is why we need a state electoral college. Atlanta should not get to dictate the rest of this very red state. I disavow that entire stain on my state. I think for the governorship, maybe for statewide elections, it could be talked about. But then you also run the risk of having certain states that you have, more Democrat rurals, which do exist, by the way. And they get to dictate the state and the state electoral college. You're going to lose Mississippi. You're going to lose Alabama, one could argue. So I'd be careful because some of these wacky proposals could come back to bite us in the rear end. Now, I'm all for it to a certain extent if it worked. I'm just saying I'm not entirely sure about that. You need to save the whole state, not retreat to the rurals and still let Atlanta become a cesspool of Democrat weakness, which it's become, and it's getting worse and worse and worse as the years go by. So Dallas Sucks 69 says, who do you want for RNC chair? I think Zeldin would win. I think he would lead us to victory. Okay, new vote dump out of, Gwinnett County. Warnock gained 53,000. It's not surprising. Zeldin, I think, is a team player. I don't think he's the best on all the issues, but I think he is somebody that could win, knows how to win. He saved the House. I think he could get things done. It's not like he would take a side in the Trump-DeSantis primary either, if it does happen. So that's another thing that we want. Keep in mind, I actually liked Reince Priebus in retrospect, and this might be revisionist history a little bit because, some people were not exactly fond of him, but he ran the party. He funded everybody. He was somebody who was a team player. Didn't matter who he was funding. He wanted to win. And he said that, he went on the Republican debate stage. Everybody in the party apparatus was anti-Trump. He said, regardless of who gets this nomination, we got to support them, defeat Hillary. Guess what happened? It won. And Reince got into Trump's administration. I don't know what happened from there on out, but either way, he was a team player. He got things done. We were winning elections. We were having actual wave years that were not regional. And we need to go back to that. We need like a Reince type. Maybe Zeldin could be that guy. I think he could be, but we'll have to see. I know Harmeet Dillon, who's like a pundit of sorts, is running for that post as well. I mean, she's better than Ronna Romney McDaniel, but I don't know. And then you have people talking about Mike Lindell. He's a patriot. He's a great guy. He has good intentions, but I just don't know if he's cut out for it. I really don't. You need somebody who is capable of electoral success and is able to retain enough donors to a certain degree. You have to change the system, but I don't know if I feel like that's kind of just blowing it up a little bit. I don't know if that's going to really get us a whole lot of electoral success, but who knows? Who knows what'll happen? I don't think he'll even get a single vote. I know he's running for it, but we'll have to see. But either way, we need a team player, somebody who knows how to win, and let the primary voters take it from there. Buck Hunter 431 says, who should replace Ben Sass? I don't know who it's going to be. It could be Pete Ricketts. It could be several people, but hopefully we get somebody better. I don't think it's going to be Don Bacon, which is a good thing, so we'll have to see. All New Year 2020 says my 2024 prediction, Trump Reynolds 281, Biden Harris 257, Trump flips Starr, Texas, Muskegon, Portage, etc. Biden flips Park, Colorado. I don't know. I don't know how I'd voted in 2020, but maybe. Eaton, Michigan. I don't think so. I don't think he'd flip Eaton. Too white working class there. Fayette, Georgia, etc. Yeah, Biden would flip counties. Trump would flip counties. I don't know. We're too far out to talk predictions. I'm still going to be doing predictions, by the way. I know some people kind of want me to stop or whatever because 2022, everybody got it wrong. Everybody had their mishaps in the predictions game. We know that. But no, we have to reassess where we went wrong and keep going, obviously. We'll be cautiously optimistic, but if there's a divided party, it's going to be hard to see Trump or DeSantis win, and that's the hard pill to swallow that I think a lot of people aren't ready for, and a lot of people are saying, well, you look at DeSantis, and he's a better option, but if he challenges Trump, you're going to have a lot of people that are going to say he's a part of the establishment then, because he's being funded by then. You'll have people saying he's a traitor. They'll stay home, and it's going to be a problem. And then if Trump beats him out and the party doesn't back him because they want him to lose so they can be done with him for good, well then, you're going to lose either way. So the party needs to be unified to start. I think changing the RNC chair and getting somebody competent would actually be a good start, and then we'll go from there. So Walker gained some votes. He's at 44%, as more red counties have come in. Trying to see if any other red counties are all the way in. Doesn't seem. Pierce County is 95% in. So he did gain some votes, but most counties have reported. DeKalb hasn't reported any. Fulton did report the mail-in dumps early from what it looks like, so that's a good thing. But here we go. Let's see. Trying to scroll up here. Okay. Christopher Laurie says, I try to stay white-pilled as much as possible, but it's hard when so many people fall in line to the establishment, not just the libs, but right-wingers as well. Yeah, stop caring what they think about you so much. I mean, that's a step in the right direction. And people will say that Trump kind of in 2020, his campaign was not run in the best manner, and it's true, but he also caved in a little bit more to the establishment, didn't really work wonders for turnout at a time where there was kind of a whole big thing to capitalize on with the riots. And I know 2016 Trump probably would have capitalized on that a little bit more, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I believe he'll be much better in 24 because he has better people around him, which is why I'm supporting him over Ron DeSantis. And that's kind of the thing. So we'll have to see. Kay Ben says, with Republicans taking House and Dems needing 2 pickups in the Senate to change filibuster, does this Georgia election really matter? I mean, yeah, because they could pass things easier. You only need 1 now of Manchin and Sinema to fall in line. And possibly it could be Sinema because she's going to have a primary challenger from the left. And that's going to change the game because if she caves, well, 50-50 now, even if Manchin votes the right way. And guess who's going to break that tie is that 51st senator for the Dems. Obviously, Manchin would be the 51st, but, well, technically Fetterman. We don't want to talk about that, but it'd be Kamala Harris breaking the ties is what I'm trying to say, and that would not end well. Manny says Washington County is between ATL and Sav. It's a lean D county. Biden won there by 1. Hasn't voted for Republicans since 04. Really? Really? If that's the case, Washington County's voting for Herschel Walker by 2. I don't really see it on the map here. It's between the 2. Trying to find it. Oh, yeah, it's right here. Herschel edged out Raphael Warnock in that county. But he also won it in round 1. He won it by less. So he won it by less. So he did make gains there, which is good. So we'll see. Let me refresh this. He's at 6 cents. I think that's a little bit too low. I can't blame people for not buying in, but we'll see. Let's see. Jesse Smallwood says, what do you think about the Indiana situation with Mike Braun running for governor? Well, we get an upgrade at the governorship level and we get an upgrade in the Senate. I can't entirely complain. Top Dog Obedience says, unless they start cleaning up the redacted, Republicans aren't going to show up. I mean, I think that Republicans that talk about that stuff the most probably are just as likely to vote as other Republicans. But in terms of Arizona, on election day, when you have all these reports, yeah, more people are going to be demoralized. And yeah, you could easily make a case for 17,000 people staying home. And what that would do is it would bolster Katie Hobbs over the finish line, just exactly what we saw. So it's sad. NKVD says opinions on running an explicitly pro-white platform. Reminder that being pro-white is not anti-anyone, but advocating for our ethnicity. I don't think you could exactly expect somebody to run on I'm going to support the whites. And it just optically, it's not the best, first of all. Second of all, the white group is very divided and people don't seem to understand this. You have a lot of these white suburbanites and they have vastly different interests and operate in a vastly different culture than a lot of these, white, more rural or exurban types as well. Obviously, there is some overlap. I'm not saying that there's not, but I wouldn't say that exactly would it depends how you would do it exactly. Because you can advocate against anti-white racism, which is institutional now in this country, and it probably would work wonders. And when we're talking about the Kentucky election that's going to be happening next year, if the Republicans are going to be too afraid to touch the Andy Beshear healthcare for white people or healthcare for only black people and other minorities thing, and if they're unwilling to touch that or go after it, well, they deserve to lose because they're not willing to fight on the issues that matter. So I will say that. I will say that there are certain issues that affect mainly white people that Republicans should gravitate towards, but they'd have to be, I guess you would say, if you're saying, it's going to be like we're going to be a pro-white or whatever, it just would depend on what you mean by that, because to some people that probably would mean something different than a campaign that is built to win. But either way, we'll see. Based Alaskan says, when I worked on Anchorage Mayor Dave Bronson's campaign, we were ballot harvesting the last 2 weeks, and we won, and now we have a based West Coast mayor. Well, that's good. That's good to hear. The Voices says 2022 may have been a necessary loss going forward. Yeah, but they're going to take the wrong message from it, and they already have, so I would say no. I would much rather have had us have a great night. I think it would have bolstered our ambitions. We would have been more united as a party as well ahead of 2024, which that would have been a massive step in the right direction for electoral viability. So nothing out of Cobb or DeKalb counties. But Herschel's within 10. He's narrowed the gap significantly in the past 10% that have reported. And right now he's gained a 7 cents in the betting odds, and now he's got it within 9. So he's making some gains out here as more votes are being counted. The counties that are all the way in, he's actually outperforming by the margin he needs to. What it all comes down to is how well he does down the stretch in the Atlanta Metro. Because if he's not outperforming his Atlanta Metro margins, he's done. Doesn't matter what he gets in the rurals when all the votes are counted. So, all right, let's see. Sam Madsen says people really think that Ron is going to gain back those voters in the suburbs who voted to give illegal aliens their tax dollars. I mean, if he's winning back those voters, he's probably doing something very wrong and probably confirms a lot of the fears that I have about his candidacy. Because I just view Ron as somebody who's a good governor, but that always doesn't translate well to the national level, and he's being used as a pivot vehicle for the establishment to essentially move people away from Trumpism, and that's an issue. At the state level, he's been a pivot vehicle for us, and I've given him his rightful praise from time to time because he's done a good job. And some people, you can't please everybody. Saying that will make a lot of people angry, a lot of the big DeSantis 2024 crowd, which, I mean, I still have a portion of the audience that is DeSantis 2024, and I'm willing to talk and reason with them. And I think I did that in my electability video, where I said, yeah, in the Sun Belt in some places, you could argue DeSantis is more electable, even though not by much. And then in the Rust Belt, Trump is more electable by a decent margin. Okay, New County dropped. Where did it drop? I don't know where that was, but it gave some votes. Was it Chatham? Might have been Chatham. But we'll see. Jason Kelly says, why would we support Trump? He keeps losing. I don't know why people keep saying this, because they say he lost 2018, 2020, and 2022. And it's like, he saved a bunch of House seats in 2020, by the way. He fell how many votes short? 40,000? Which you could argue the social media collusion would have been more than enough to actually, I guess you would say, revert that when it comes down to the Twitter files that got released. Because Democrats had lifelines at these social media platforms. They said, take this post down, they'd take it down. That's information, just suppression right there. First of all, it's disgusting. And that's the way that it is. But, I mean, furthermore, beyond that point, he didn't lose 2016. He didn't lose 2018. In fact, he saved plenty of Senate seats in 2018, flipping them red. I'm not sure if Hawley wins, if you have like a Rubio in the White House, because Trump was polarizing, but he made the red states redder. And every Republican or Democrat that's an incumbent loses House seats. And then 2022, he wasn't on the ballot. I mean, his endorsed candidates in many places were sabotaged. Some of them would have won anyways, like Mastriano or Walker. You could say maybe he wanted to, get Herschel to run for that seat, but still, he was backed by McConnell. He was backed by the entire RNC. That's the reason why he's still alive. He would have gone down on round 1 that night if he wasn't. So, let's see. Arnie Hernandez says, why is the GOP establishment obsessed with Mace? I don't know. I mean, she's awful on everything, but she happens to be a fresh face in the party, they say. She happens to be a woman, and she happens to cave on everything. I mean, she's perfect for the GOP establishment, who loves to play identity politics when it benefits them. They love to cave on literally everything like she does. She falls in line. Of course they like him. Let's see. Jacob Weiser says, do you think Republicans can win in Georgia in 26, and will it be heavily Democrat in the future, or will a Youngkin-type Republican stand a chance? I mean, it depends. I think that in terms of the Senate race there, Brian Kemp probably is the best option to go for Senate, like him or not, in terms of the actual chance to win, because that would be a case where the whole, electability narrative would actually hold up. But I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's a state that is favorable demographically, or the way that trends are going. I mean, the rurals are pretty much close to maxed, and then you're having the suburbs still veer left off a cliff. Ron DeSantis, even if he wins Georgia, is not saving that trend if he does get the nomination in 2024. So Arnie Hernandez says, will you be at AmFest? Huge fan. I will be there. I think next weekend, actually. It's coming up pretty quickly. But yeah, I'll be there in Phoenix. I wish I was going to Arizona on better terms of the state's politics, but it is what it is. All New Year 2020 says, I feel overturning Roe v. Wade would be worth even a blue wave bigger than 2018. Well, I mean, not if they codify it into law. I will say that, which, again, we have to make sure doesn't happen, because that would basically just make it law again. And that would be a massive issue. Maybe you could say it would go back to the court, but who knows what's going to happen at that point. No, I'm content with the results that we got, given all things considered, in terms of the Roe v. Wade stuff. But ideally, we should have done a lot better, and we could have done a lot better. Republicans didn't underperform because of Roe v. Wade necessarily. I mean, they were slipping in the polls beforehand, and they did really well in New York and California, which are probably some of the most pro-choice, or pro-abortion, I should say, states. Pro-abortion is the preferred term, in my view. But Based Alaskans, his point is the GOP must harvest an early vote. Yeah, they must. You have to play to win the game. You can't play with 1990s rules. I mean, you just can't. You have to play to win the way the system is now. You can complain about the system, you can work to change the system, but you can't do that if you can't win. And that's a massive issue. And Republicans need to get involved. I mean, look at it. There's so many old people that should be voting Republican, and many of them didn't show up in the midterms. And part of that is they're skeptical of the whole mail stuff. But I mean, at this point, what angle do you have? I mean, you have to actually play into it. We need to have our own drop boxes at our conservative locations the way they do. Make sure everybody votes. Get all of these, precinct captains or whatever you would call these people, these field workers out there to register everyone they possibly can. I mean, what can I say? Rage Bear Gaming says, personally, I think if DeSantis would have endorsed Walker right after the general, I believe Walker would be ahead right now. I don't know. I really don't know what impact that Ron DeSantis' endorsement has, because even though you have an increasing number of people supporting him over Trump, they're not diehard fans. Trump still has diehard fans. DeSantis might have diehard fans in Florida. How many does he have in Georgia? There's probably more Republicans who don't even know who the guy is. Republican voters, obviously. You might say, well, how would they not know who he is? But I mean, he's just a governor. His name rec is probably 70, 75%, but I don't know if that's enough. Let's see. Eric Kirk says DeKalb County is pronounced DeKalb, not DeKalb. DeKalb County. All right. Well, we'll see. David Solovey says, why would anyone listen to you after your total midterm election prediction fail? 54 seats is inevitable. Well, first of all, I didn't predict 54 Senate seats. You're just lying. I predicted 53. Now, everybody predicted 53. RCP predicted 53. Nate Silver, I guess we'll refrain from calling him Nate Plastic for now, predicted 52. So it's not like the predictions were necessarily off. It was the mechanics behind it that were awful, and we just have to regroup and get ready for the next cycle. So it's not like this own that you think it is saying, well, you did bad here. It's like, okay, well, yeah, everyone has an off cycle, but why was the cycle off? And we analyze it and we go back to square one. It's not like it's like this whole, oh, we're going to win everything every time type of thing. No. So Rachel Anderson, thank you for the super chat. Base Cato says, why did Kemp vastly outperform Walker on the midterms? Was 2,000 meals. Meals, like McDonald's meals, were weighing Abrams that much down. I mean, honestly, when it comes down to the whole Stacey Abrams thing, she was just an awful candidate. This time around was even worse than she was last time. So Warnock, where did Warnock gain? Okay, Cobb is in. We're still waiting on... Oh, DeKalb is barely in. Cobb is also barely in, by the way. So, or DeKalb, I should say. I don't know. Everyone's conflicting. They're saying DeKalb. I don't know. I guess we'll say DeKalb. See, part of like what I do here is mispronounce things and have people correct me. It's been a part of the channel history for quite some time. And when you're dealing with thousands of counties across the entire country, you can't expect even the most expert of geography expert to get everything down correctly. But it is a learning curve for sure with the whole pronunciation. But honestly, I think Walker was just outspent. And I don't think he got the party backing nearly as much as he could have. The scandals were a factor, but honestly, he just couldn't, I don't know, he wasn't really defending himself in general as much as he could have been. He did well at the debate stage compared to expectations. I think he did just fine, but who knows? He had a lot of psyops on his own side working against him too. I just don't know how anyone could vote for Kemp and then Warnock. Warnock was not defined as the radical liberal that he is, right? It's funny we say that now. I mean, Kelly Loeffler was a worse candidate objectively, and you'll see that in the results tonight more likely than not, as Walker probably does fall, shorter by a lesser margin, or who knows if he'll actually win. He's at 11 cents now. He's climbing, but still a long way to go. They say toss-up on the needle. Oh, really? The needle says toss-up. So he's in this fight. It's not over. Like I said, I'm still very cautious about this, but it's not over. And the New York Times needle says it's a toss-up, and that's with a lot of these counties dropping their early dumps. I think there's more to drop out of Cobb and DeKalb, I should say. Kaminsky says Barack sicko or Obama mode. I don't know the correct answer to that question. Jason Christie says Trump DeSantis 24 is the dream ticket. Trump is popular in the Rust Belt. DeSantis is popular in the Sun Belt. We could sweep both regions. Yeah, and I know about the residency thing, and Trump would have to change. And I think it'd be a compromise ticket. I think that Trump is going to have to, pick somebody for his running mate that ideally would unite the party behind him, but is somebody that's not a pushover. And I think DeSantis is kind of that guy, but the whole Florida thing is kind of a thing, an issue. But we'll see. That ticket would win Florida by probably around, I don't know, at least 10. Spider says Walker up to 12 on predicted. Well, there you go. We'll see what happens, but it's closer. It's getting closer. Walker keeps gaining. Warnock keeps falling. That needle is at toss-up level. It's not looking like 90-10 on that needle, but we have a long way to go. It's not even leaning D, but there's just so much we don't know. So we'll be here for a while. Let's see. All New Year 2020 says, we will stick with you every step of the way. The establishment, GOP, and liberal trolls in the chat mean nothing. You know you're real fans. Well, thank you, and I know I do. And we still have a lot of people who are fed up with the way things are going, mainly in the GOP and in the country, that want change and understand how we need to achieve it. And that means everything to me, and we just have to keep fighting ahead of 2024. So we'll see. Michael Murphy says, I predict Mitch McConnell will win tonight. Well, that would mean Raphael Warnock would get the edge, honestly. Benson X says, my cope is at least it's not a blowout. I mean, I guess, but I mean, that I guess you could say that, but I think it's going to go down the wire. Warnock still might end up winning by 3. I hope my prediction's wrong. I really do. I hope my prediction's wrong. And I don't know how people will take that, but Walker's been gaining in the later early vote dumps, but if the early vote looked as bad as it did, and he pulls it off, that would be huge, because that means Republicans got their act together on Election Day. Still, he could have won by a lot more, depending on the early vote lawsuits, if he does win, which, again, is far from certain, and he probably isn't still favored. But you look at this right here, it's a toss-up. May tilt ever so slightly to the left, but you could even argue some of that is the preconceived notion that Warnock was expected to win by a sizable margin anyways. And Walker just gained 1% or 0.1% right there. So let's see. Rachel Anderson says, you are fantastic. Well, thank you. Question, though. Why do so many people solely base their lives on your predictions and hate on you and corrupt system and also other factors? People suck. Love from Texas. Well, thank you for your support. And I think that, honestly, it's probably because of the fact that they don't have anything else better to do. They're the A-logs, you know. They'll just do anything possible to dunk on people. And that's part of the job with anything, especially if you are an online type of figure in any capacity. But either way, I try to explain why I think things go a certain way. And if they don't go a certain way, I explain why they didn't go a certain way and try to, you know, regroup and get the next one right. Not giving up. They want me to go away. I'm not going to go away. I'm not leaving. There's nothing they can do to make me leave unless they take me down, which they did before for 40 hours. But follow the Rumble as well. Follow the Rumble. Let's see. Jared Walsh says Dave Wasserman deleted a previous tweet of Georgia. Interesting. I mean, if he called it early and then got it wrong or called it too early, which I mean, people are saying that that's not entirely the case, but I don't know. Either way, it is what it is. But 55 to 45, pretty much when you round, they have it as toss-up, barely tilting D. We'll see. Got a long, long way to go here. Baldwin County's at 84%. Warnock's up by 5 in Baldwin. I'm trying to find where Baldwin... Okay, Baldwin's right there. Baldwin voted for Walker in round 1. Probably is going to come back to the right as more votes are tabulated. And Walker gained another 0.1. And we're 41% of the way in. Cobb County's at 24 still. Gwinnett is 55. But not a whole lot out of DeKalb, I should say. Not a whole lot out of... where's the other county that was not all the way in? It was like 9%. I don't know. Maybe I'm just imagining things, but we'll see. Garrett Vranser says, I live in Pennsylvania, and Philly had irregular drop boxes. And either way, let me say this. With Pennsylvania, that margin was too big to overcome for any candidate that was running. So, I mean, Philly is Philly, but, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, Oz should be in the Senate right now because, you know, I just really think it has to do with the fact that Republicans just don't know how to get over the hump, and I don't think Oz was entirely the greatest option in retrospect. And of the three, maybe he was. But the bench was so weak, I mean, who else would have ran, really? So, I mean, and he did have base issues too. And he didn't do that bad in Philly or the suburbs. It was mainly the rural areas. And even if you want to say, well, it's all Mastriano's fault, I mean, Mastriano also did very poorly in the rural areas. He bombed worse in the rurals than he even did in the suburbs from like a margin perspective, which is really strange. So I think it just has to do with the fact that not having any money does hurt you and mechanics do matter. And you have to run a campaign, period. You have to actually run a real campaign, not like a Facebook campaign or a Twitter campaign or whatever. So that's the way I see it. I like Doug Mastriano. Would like to see him in Congress one day. Maybe he could use this as a springboard and run for Joyce's seat if he retires or what, because he won that district by 20 points. It's not like the whole electability thing would be a factor. Let's see. Jimmy J says, why is Kemp more popular than Trump's candidate? Well, he's an incumbent governor. Incumbent governors won big. Kemp used to be Trump's candidate back in 2018, believe it or not. I mean, Trump picked him to win. He handpicked him, and he won. Jesse Kilgore says, if Trump goes to black cities and gets the black vote, GOP can... No. The thing is that it's like pulling teeth or squeezing blood out of a rock trying to go after the black vote that is so immovable and is roughly 90% Democrat and will stay 90% Democrat and has stayed 90% Democrat despite the fact that Republicans have, changed their platform and gone out of their way to try and get these voters on their side. And it's not entirely going to make all that big of a difference. You can move the black vote right by 20 points. You're not going to really flip a whole lot of states. Move the white vote right by 3 to 4. Then you're going to start flipping like probably 5 to 10 states. So you have to go after where the base is. The GOP panders to minority groups who don't vote for them. They pander to suburban women who are still not going to vote for them regardless how much they get pandered to. And they don't go after their own base. They don't try to tap into what made Trump win in the first place. And they focus on the wrong issues from time to time, and they lose. And that's the way it is, and I'm sick and tired of losing. I want to win. Okay, what happened? Another vote dump out of... I don't know where the vote dump was out of, but it was out of somewhere. Warnock still leads by 11. Let's check the... Yeah, he's at 11 cents still. Let's see. Based Katos is who is the biggest winner of the 2022 midterms, DeSantis or Mike Garcia? Oh, easily DeSantis, because if he does want to run for president, he has a mandate. He won Florida big, which again doesn't always translate to winning a national election. But Trump kind of having his candidates fall short for a myriad of reasons, none of which were, oh, they're too Trumpian. And again, it's funny because you look at like Dr. Oz, like he's kind of like a liberal Republican on some issues his entire career. So you can't blame that one on Trump. Like Laxalt was the best recruit for Nevada, and Nevada's Nevada. I mean, that's kind of one of those elections, if you know what I mean. But still, DeSantis has this mandate now where he can run, and he'll have the media behind him entirely. All conservative media behind him, all the donors behind him. Trump still has his base, which will cause havoc and problems, but it's going to be a close primary if things don't change. It will be. And that's going to be a massive issue if Republicans can't unify and can't get their act together in terms of their leadership. And yes, they will end up losing in 2024, hands down, if that's the case. Now, I still think Trump's the better option for certain reasons, mainly Rust Belt electoral reasons. I think he has more of a down ballot effect in some places. If he was on the ballot in the midterms and was campaigning, Republicans probably would have had a much better night in many places. You may argue that they would have had a worse night in New York or California, but in Ohio, Iowa, the Midwest, yeah. People need to not forget that Joe Biden's approval rating is still very low. And he does need to be attacked a lot. And the whole infighting is only going to cause him to soar. And it's going to cause resources to be spent attacking each other. And if that's the case, Biden's going to be in a much better spot, or whoever else runs, because he hasn't announced, he's hinted towards running, he's declared the intention to run. I don't believe Biden's filed. There's a chance he doesn't run, probably a 25% chance. I still think he's the best they have, so they'll trot him out, but you never know. Maybe Gavin Newsom, they'll try to run him, which would be a disaster if the Republican Party's unified. Again, this is a guy who decriminalized like giving people AIDS knowingly. Like California, he's the governor of California. Every like swing state hates California as well. So honestly, I kind of hope that's who they run to a certain degree. But I mean, Biden's kind of like old and decrepit and has a negative record as president. So we'll see what happens. I probably would say Biden maybe about this. I really don't know. I think that they're both weak candidates, but still the strongest the Dems have to offer. And the Republicans just need to get their act together and play the election system to win, get the highest turnout they can get across the entire country. Don't leave the Midwest out to dry like they've been doing, especially in non-Trump years. So we'll see. Sam Madsen said there's still hundreds of thousands of registered non-college whites in my state who don't vote. Well, are they going to come out and vote for Scott Jensen? Hell no. I mean, you have disaffected people that need to be reached. And a lot of them can be pushed into voting if you have good mechanics. Like, Democrats have been getting ridiculously high numbers of black votes in recent years, even before 2020, that they wouldn't get 10, 15 years ago in terms of their, not just percentages, but in terms of their turnout operation, because they bus people to the polls, they get, they go to the inner cities, whatever. What do we do for the rural whites? We don't exactly do very much, do we? So, and economic messaging is another thing that you could say. And I'm not saying go left on economics. I'm just saying you have to speak to the average voter. Speak to the average voter who's making, I don't know, $40,000 a year and lives in Jackson County, Michigan. They're speaking to voters they're losing, which is funny. They're still the party of I don't know, just the elite, I guess you would say. I mean, they're the party of Bloomfield Hills still, and Bloomfield Hills is moving vastly to the left. You talk about Michigan as an example. It's like, yeah, those areas vote Democrat. They don't vote Democrat by like a ridiculous margin, but they vote Democrat now. Look at the precinct map. They didn't do that 20 years ago. So they're still stuck in the 90s. Demographics have changed. Trends have changed. The culture's changed. And I'm not saying cave on the culture, obviously. We have to fight it effectively is what I'm saying. And you're not going to fight it effectively by doing whatever the hell that they've been doing since the 1980s, because we're losing our culture. We've lost it. So, yeah. Jimmy J says, ain't Tulsi left-wing economically? She has been, but she's been changing her tune now, which, again, does ask some questions. Maybe she's trying to, I don't know, throw a bone to her right-leaning audience now. I don't know, but it's interesting to see her transformation. Let's see. Christopher Laurie says, the trolls in the chat prove my point. These right-wingers claim to be anti-establishment, but simp for DeSantis, just like the establishment. They're a joke. Honestly, some are misguided. I think that people just need to understand who's behind DeSantis, and that just because you're a good governor doesn't mean that you're going to be a good president. Just like George W. Bush, who was not the worst governor in the world, was arguably the worst president of our lifetimes. Well, until Biden, of course, but that's beside the point. So, let's see. Rachel Anderson says, with the overturn of Roe being announced in the same year as a midterm, do you think it impacted Warnock support? I don't know. Georgia's a state that, I mean, like the biggest Democrat constituency are black voters in Georgia, and they don't tend to care as much about the abortion issue as white liberals do. So, I don't know. And then the rurals are very pro-life. I think Georgia's still a state that is more pro-life than most. I'm not entirely sure that it had the biggest impact either way, especially with Brian Kemp, who I believe signed a heartbeat bill's massive re-election bid. So, Ghost of Franco says, what does a 2040 GOP look like, or a GOP win look like in terms of education, demographics, etc., crucial states that would decide? I don't know. I think that it's possible Texas could be that next swing state. I hope it really isn't, but there's also a chance it could go blue. I think the Rust Belt is going to be lean red to competitive still. I think Wisconsin's going to be solid red, but Michigan, Pennsylvania, those should still be competitive. Maybe you'll see Kansas be competitive, but also Rhode Island and Delaware be competitive. So I don't know. We'll have to see. But Walker's gaining. He's at 46 now. The needle hasn't moved at all. Where has he gained exactly? I'm trying to find out here. Not exactly seeing where the gains are. Glynn County is now 95% in, which I'm trying to find exactly where that would be. Probably somewhere. Oh, Walker County's here. He has a county named after him. But I don't know. Either way, he's gaining. Oh, he's right here. 61-39. Glynn County was 63-36. So he's underperforming there. There could be some votes left, but he's underperforming there. That's not a good sign. But he's overperforming in some other places. So they have it as a toss-up. He's at 46, so he's got it within 8, 50% of the way through not even, and he's closing the gap. The remaining votes will benefit him. The real question is, by how much? And we don't know. We'll have to see as they come in, but actually the needle moved a little bit to the left with the latest vote dump, so do keep that in mind. Okay, he gained more. I'm not sure where the gain came from, but he's now within 7.4. Comic Artist Pro Secret says, we overturned Roe v. Wade this year. We won huge. Who cares about a Senate term? It was worth it. I agree that it was worth it, but that doesn't mean that we can't exactly still win in the same, at the same time. We're winning certain places that are very, I guess you would say, pro-abortion, like New York, or at least getting New York within like 7 or 6. But losing a state like, I don't know, Georgia, which is probably a more pro-life state still compared to the national average, it's not entirely correlative all the way. Okay, Walker gained. He's down just 7 now. That margin's getting closer. 49% of the vote is in. It's still toss-up to tilt. It's still tilting D. It moved back a hair, I think, to the toss-up column, but I don't know. Long way to go, but if it's really that close, it could come down to, once again, the mechanics problem, and that's an issue. Jim Bob says perhaps the GOP should try to run on a national campaign instead of just focusing on swing states. And no, they need to focus on swing states, but they need to do so intelligently. They need to do so tactfully. They need to not spend time in Ohio or Iowa. They need to be going after Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Wisconsin. If they can get those 3 and then just hold the Trump 2020 coalition, that's enough for victory. So we'll see. Jonathan Manson says GOP has to early vote from day 1 and not vote on election day unless no other alternative, because those ballots are specifically blank, redacted ballot. Harvesting is also allowed in 25 states. And this is technically true. I think people should still vote on election day when necessary. But if you're old and you're like over 65, like much of the GOP is, I don't know why they don't exactly do in-person early voting, because that would benefit the Republicans a lot. It does in Florida. Even in the mail-in and early vote, Republicans won that vote by like 10 points. On election day, of course, they won it by 30 in Florida, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, Walker's almost to 47. So let's check the betting odds here. He's now down to 8. But he's gaining. He's within 6 points. We've been going for about an hour. They counted half the votes. How nice is that? Now, hopefully we're not waiting for like hours on end between vote dumps. But yeah, he's within 6. It's going down the wire. Warnock is still favored, but it's going down the wire. Cobb is still not even a quarter of the way in. DeKalb is a lot of votes left. So We'll see. But it is true the later vote dumps will favor Walker. But that's a 104,000 vote gap he's going to have to make up. I'm not entirely sure if it's there, but we'll have to wait and see. So, all New Year 2020 says all the neo-never Trumpers will have no choice to vote for Trump in 24 if it means getting Biden out. Watch, it'll be funny. Yeah, they're very vindictive people who want Trump gone for good. So, I'm not entirely sure. Also, it is true that Walker did hit his target with the number of Election Day votes that were cast, because they were saying he needs 1.2 million for it to be competitive. He got 1.3 million. So that's good news. And that was released before the election. I don't know why the betting odds didn't pick up on that, but they usually do. Okay, now it's leaning Warnock. Now it's Warnock 71% chance. Walker gained, but there was a massive vote dump out of some county. I don't know where it was, but we'll see. But it's still within 6. It's within 6. But now they have it as leaning Warnock. But that doesn't mean it's over. But still, a long way to go. Jimmy J says, how can the GOP get libertarian votes and support? Just knock them off the ballot. The Dems do that with the Green Party. Just knock them off the ballot. Some people are going to say, hey, you can't do that. That's not principled. Okay, you're letting the unprincipled Democrats win. Talk about principles. Yeah, I don't think that's exactly the flex that a lot of these people think it is. But no, the Libertarian Party has no impact. They're not talk about electability. They're not electable just from a logistical standpoint. So, no, there's no reason for them to be on the ballot. There just isn't. The Dems get the Green Party off in nearly every state, mainly the swing states. Why is the Libertarian Party on the ballot screwing things over for us? Even if you want to say some of those voters vote Dem or wouldn't vote at all, doesn't matter. It's Cool Guy Rye says, DeSantis won bigger than Newsom did. This is true, and it's funny. Nick H says, I can't wait for DeSantis to do 3 points better in Oakland County at the expense of losing Macomb County. Yeah, I mean, he has roots in Macomb to a certain degree. Again, that didn't help Romney in Oakland very much, but I don't think that DeSantis would be the best fit for Michigan. And I'm not really convinced Trump would win Michigan at this point either, especially given the trifecta the Dems have. So Walker's down by just, okay, wait, Warnock gained. Where did he gain from? Where are the votes coming in from? Not exactly sure down here where they are, but he's down to 100,000 vote deficit. He cut that to 93 not too long ago. 51% of the vote reporting. He's down by 6. Let's see. Brett Deuce says, would libertarian candidates getting off the ballots help in races that are within 1 to 2 points? Or would libertarians just not vote? Oh, it would help, absolutely. It would. I think it would help. Who knows? But I think it would help because they tend to care a lot about the Second Amendment, and a lot of them view Republicans as a little weak on the Second Amendment. So a lot of them are probably going to fall in line regardless. It's like the whole no guns winner meme that people made after the Kentucky election back in 2019 where neither candidate got 50. Yeah, very similar to that, but yeah. Nick H says, how good could DeSantis be if Karl Rove likes him? And this is the problem, and that I would be more receptive to the idea of DeSantis 2024, possibly, if the people around him, or people that were propping him up, the biggest fanboys, were not the same people that were the Never-Trumpers back in 2016. You're seeing the same divide that took place then, you're seeing it now. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that DeSantis is entirely going to be as bad as a Bush type or even like a Romney, but the signs are there that his administration is going to be comprised of people who are far weaker, one could say, than even Trump's administration, which had a lot of weak people. It's true. Like, ask the people in Trump's admin who they'd rather work for that were weak. John Bolton. He might run for president against Trump If not, he's going to back DeSantis, probably. Kushner's out of the way. Ivanka wants nothing to do with her father. That's probably a good thing given how liberal they are. So, going from here on out, it's smooth sailing for Trump. The advisors that were weak are out of the way, but the party is not unifying behind him, and that's going to be an issue. So if Trump wants to win, he's got to bring the energy, he's got to bring the fire, and he can do that. But can he do that? Because, yeah, he's not 2016 Trump, and then the critics will say that, and they're right. Although he could be, if he actually gets it together, which we'll see what happens. But, yeah, they give Warnock a 77% chance right now. Betting odds are 95-5. Herschel's down by 100,000 votes, 51% of the vote reporting. I don't know where the recent vote dumps were reported from. Possibly Douglas County, but I don't know. There's not enough votes there to make a difference. So who knows? They have it as probably Warnock. President Gilbert giddy-ups as conservatives need to move to social media platforms and YouTube. If they do that, they can win young voters. That's how 14-year-old me supported Republicans. I mean, yeah, TikTok. And the problem with that, though, like you look at TikTok, is that conservative TikTok has been dead for the longest time. And it, even though it didn't exactly, I guess you would say a lot of these people, you can't even probably name 5 of them, they still had a massive reach, and a lot of people were able to have hundreds of thousands of normie-con followers that helped Trump out to a certain degree. But these platforms will just kick people off. Like, you look at Fetterman and how he was able to use TikTok to get youth votes out or whatever. A lot of conservatives, they get banned instantly because of mass reporting from TikTok and a lot of these other platforms. And you could look at, YouTube, for example. Even then, it's even then there are issues. And even though I have a decent audience and, it's a great thing, you have to understand that there is still this risk of deplatform. There's still going to be risks regarding even reach, because the TikTok algorithm, for example, it's normal people, it's everybody. But, YouTube, Twitter, all these other platforms, you look up a name of somebody even, and a lot of the times you don't even find their videos. You find CNN, even Fox News will get up there, but it's really just a cesspool of corporate boosting. And they've actually bragged about this. Whatever they call authoritative news sources actually starts to rise in the algorithm, and they actually promote that. They've openly promoted that. Meanwhile, you look up election prediction, for example, you would expect me to be number 1, and in 2011 YouTube we would be, but nope, apparently we're not even on the first probably 50, 60 pages. So, yep, that margin narrowed, by the way. It's within 83,000 votes. Is that what I'm looking at? 83,000 votes. That's a 4.6% margin. It still is at 77% Warnock, but it's still competitive. I will say that. It's still relatively competitive. So, let's see. And yeah, some people in chat are mentioning that Elon could revive Vine. Maybe, and I'm also very hopeful about the Elon thing, whether you like Elon or not. Personally, I don't think that it's going to be 2006 internet again, but I think that it's a step in the right direction. And it's possible that if he does decide to maintain a profitable company while reducing censorship, that other social media platforms could follow, but I'm not holding my breath on that. But the chance is there, because all decisions are economical. They are. So, we'll see. Tiffany Harrison says, so Biden drops unalive and Kamala becomes prez. What happens in 2024? Is it true that if Republicans make Trump the speaker, then he would be the VP to come on? No, I don't think that's how it works. They would appoint a new VP. They did this with, I believe, when Ford took over his VP, he appointed him. He got confirmed, I believe, in the Senate. Rockefeller. And then you saw him be replaced in the campaign trail with Bob Dole. Didn't exactly amount to very much because he lost, although it was very close. And that's another election that you could throw in the category of possibly 1960, the most recent one we had as well. So, I don't know. Sam Madsen says, was at a bar in 69% Trump County and the bartender said she never voted because they're all the same. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people feel this way. And okay, well, Walker got it within 4, as we read that super chat. But a lot of people feel disaffected with the system. They don't feel like Republicans or Democrats have really given them a reason to turn out and vote. So, Michael Heidelberger says, repcasting the election. No better election broadcaster on the web. Keep it up, my man. Well, thank you. Make sure you guys like the stream, by the way. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel as well. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. You can't use the chat if you don't subscribe, so make sure you guys do sub. And make sure if you want the exclusive content, you can always join the website. I did put out a new video. The website was down for maintenance. It's now back, so that's a good thing. Still working on the server a little bit there on the site, but the merch store is also back. So if you want the shirt that I'm wearing, well, you know where to get it. Jesse Kilgore says, if Trump uses the term foundational Black American, the young black folks who don't vote will vote and stop. Yeah, I don't think Trump using a term is going to change that trend. You know, I've had, you know, I guess you would say just a decent amount of black friends and acquaintances over my years, and I've never heard that term outside the internet. He's not going to reach these people by using a different term. Like, it's just, this is not, you're not going to get black votes unless, I don't know what would have to change. But either way, it's not worth wasting too many resources trying to pander to groups who don't vote for you or are moving away. You have to stand true to authentic conviction, and you'll gain probably some black votes and Hispanic votes in the process, mainly Hispanic, but still, that would be a massive, you know, just externality that would help more so than one that you should spend resources on trying to get. I mean, and if you are going to target these communities for support, you're probably going to have to do so in a manner that also appeals to your base. Trump did this in 2016. He said crime is a big issue, and this is very true. And we saw what happened. He went from like 2% in the polls with black voters to like 8 to 10. And when he started to release criminals from prison, he didn't exactly get the highest percentage turnout in the rurals, and he didn't really improve that much with black voters either, or at least as much as he would have already improved because, I don't know, he was the incumbent, whatever. But pandering to groups who don't vote Republican and have never voted Republican since, like, I don't know, the 1930s, that's not exactly what's going to, you know, change the way these people vote. It's not going to happen overnight. And you probably are never going to see Republicans get more than 15 to 20% of the black vote in our lifetimes, and people just need to accept that. So, let's see. Garrett Vronsayer says, do you think McConnell pulled funding from Trump candidates and spend money elsewhere to try and hurt Trump and promote DeSantis? Absolutely. 100%. He doesn't even want to win. He was on tape before the election saying we're not going to win the Senate. Well, guess what? Mitch McConnell had the only accurate Senate prediction of 2022. Congratulations. He's also the man that made it happen. So, yeah, it's within 60,000 votes. But that's because more of the rurals are starting to report, and we're seeing this here. More of the rurals are reporting. Also, Herschel gained in Glenn, where he was underperforming. He had a 21-point lead. Now that's up to 24, which is closer to in line with what he got in round 1. Still not perfect. But Cobb is still at 24, and DeKalb is at 5. So long way to go. Let's see. Santiago Cortez Matamoros says, was Trump winning Michigan in 2016 a fluke? No, I mean, not necessarily. I think it's kind of like the reverse North Carolina, if anything, where it will always remain close, but it's going to take a good year for Republicans to actually get it. So it's still winnable, but it's not number one on the priority list. Sam Madsen says, why is it that incumbents did so well? Because the average voter kind of sees them in the media and is familiar with them more so than a non-incumbent. But also, they usually produce some results and have more tools at their disposal that would help them. So yeah, Warnock is leading now by 2.2. That's closer than our prediction. I predicted that Warnock would win by 3.6. So Walker's actually outperforming so far. He's down 40,000 votes, but still a lot of votes left out of the Atlanta metro. A lot of votes left downstate as well. But, I mean, you're looking at where the remaining votes are. I mean, there's a lot of votes left. A lot of votes left in that Atlanta metro. That's where it's going to come down to. So you better hope there was a greater surge than expected. Okay, Walker gained. He's within 2. Nick H. says DeSantis isn't actually MAGA. I guarantee he would have voted to invade Iraq. He wasn't even based in Congress. No, he was not based in Congress. He had a very mediocre voting record. He wasn't like one of the worst. He wasn't like a rhino, but he wasn't like perfect either. Not somebody I would primary, but not somebody who was like perfect on all the issues. Oh, Herschel gained. He's within 33,000 votes. So the raw vote margin that he needs to overcome is getting lesser and lesser, which that is a good sign. 45% of the vote is left to count. Jimmy J says Red Eagle DeSantis is not a rhino, he's a populist. I don't consider him either. I mean, he's not much of a populist. He's kind of, branched out into more populist rhetoric because I think that that's what's like popular now. And again, I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing if he kind of blows the way the wind does, if he has good people around him. But the problem is a lot of the people around him propping up his campaign are not exactly your like based conservatives. They're not. A lot of them are neocons who were original Never Trumpers back in 2016 and are just total neocons who, in some cases, voted for Biden. The case of people like Bolton, who likely will support DeSantis if he is, or if he does not run for president, or ends his joke of a run for president, I guess you would say. So it definitely all plays into it. A lot of these like National Review type people, like they all support Ron over Trump. I mean, the only people in the establishment that really still support Trump are people like Lindsey Graham, who Trump has called a rhino and is more skeptical of now. And there are some other people as well, but they're far and few between. Like, I can't even remember off of the top of my head 2 others. Maybe some could fill me in. But, like, there are grifters who are kind of like establishment. People like Elise Stefanik, who in Congress have been centrist their whole careers, but have kind of fallen in line a little bit more, but not by enough. Like, I think she supports Trump for some reason. I hope she's not the VP, but we'll see. Yep, 31,000 votes now. And look, they moved the needle back to 66. They moved the needle back from 79 to 66. That's huge. They moved it all the way back to toss-up almost. Look at that. It was almost a likely. Now it's back to toss-up. Where did those votes come in? Oh, where did they come in from exactly? We don't even know. At least not off the top of my head. But you talk about that. That was a shift back in the right direction. That's a good thing. He's closing in. He's down by just 25,300 votes. This thing is not over. It's not over yet. Betting odds haven't moved, but it's not over. It's 66% chance. That chance is there. That's a 1 in 3 chance. That's like rolling a die and getting a 1 or a 2. Chance is there. The shift map? There's a shift map? I was unaware of the shift map. Okay, there are other metrics. So he's at 34% chance right now. He was down by 21. And they say right now, Warnock by 1.2. It's not like the margins are always that accurate there, but no, you see a little bit of back and forth. Some of these 95% plus counties are not all the way in, by the way. But again, this is a map that is pretty much all over the place. But either way, yeah, it's within 1 point. Warnock crossed the 1 million vote threshold. There was high turnout on election day. That's definitely going to be something that would have bolstered Walker's chances, but I don't know if it's going to be by enough. Johnson Faldy says they'll find the votes if it's close. Very disheartening. Well, either way, we'll see. The early votes have been dumped first, so I'm not entirely so sure what's going to happen down the stretch, but I would like to see Fulton and the cab report their ballots sooner than later, so we have a better, I guess you would say, gauge of where things stay. MH says, how will the guilty verdict that Trump wrongfully received on tax fraud affect him? Best president ever. Great job, Red Eagle. Well, thank you. I don't know what's going to happen regarding Trump's taxes. We've heard about them for years, and nothing ever came of it. And he was one of the most persecuted people in the entire country by the government, by the deep state. And he overcame it for the most part. And they've been searching for not decades, but pretty much almost a decade now, trying to find something on this guy. They haven't found anything illegal. So I don't know what's going to go down there. But now they're trying to say, oh, well, he ate dinner with the wrong people. He said this thing about the Constitution we're going to take out of context. And it's like, if this is the best they got, like, I don't understand what exactly they have against this guy. Like, you could say his energy's lower. You could say, yeah, his presidency wasn't as ideal as his 2016 campaign, but still. They moved it back to a pure toss-up. It's a pure toss-up. They say it's close. It's a pure toss-up. They don't know which way this thing is going. Now it's Warnock plus 0.8. Wow. Yep, 9,000 vote differential. There you go. So this thing is still going down the wire. Now, there are still a lot of Democrat votes remaining, but the fact that they're changing the needle already does kind of prove that we know which direction that this race is heading, and that direction is down the wire. Garrett Vranz here says, have you heard of Vincent James? He was a hardline Republican who got 500K subs in a year, then banned from YouTube. He's on Odyssey now, and conservatives should sue companies on free speech. Yeah, I've heard of Vince James. Oh, wait, hold on. Walker took the lead. He took the lead. 58% of the vote reporting. He's got a lead of about 800 votes right there, 800 to 900 votes almost. So he's in the lead. 58% of the vote reporting. He's taken the lead back for the first time tonight since he, led the first couple of vote dumps out of those small rural counties. But yeah, he has taken the lead back. Now there's a long way to go. There is a lot of Dem votes outstanding, but he's still taking the lead, and that's a very good sign that he does have it. We'll see if he holds on to it, but it's going to go down the wire. The New York Times agrees it's going down the wire. The betting odds now have him at 8 cents. So yeah, stop the count. Exactly. I wish they would, but I don't know. That's huge, but it's not over. It's not over yet, but that goes for both sides. It's not over. So a little bit of a glimmer of hope there, but there are still a lot of Democrat votes remaining, so don't be disappointed when it's all said and done. But I tell you. Yeah, they had to they took down, he broke the needle. He broke that thing. They don't know what the hell is going on. Let's see what they come back with, because, they don't even know what's going to happen. They don't want to look dumb. It's a data issue. Either way, they don't want to look dumb. I'm not saying that Herschel's like guaranteed. Oh, he's gaining 5,000 vote lead for Herschel Walker, 58% of the vote in. Oh, well, let's go back to the last super chat. In terms of conservatives suing companies, they should be able to. If you're a company that's large enough to be a monopoly, they should be forced to operate the same way the First Amendment operates. People should not be kicked off of social media because they happen to say something that is controversial or that the system doesn't exactly like, and that's the thing. And so many of these conservatives don't seem to understand that either. They keep clinging to this private company thing. It's their religion is Reaganism. It's the free market. But still, no, we need free speech on social media. Musk buying Twitter is a step in the right direction, but it's far from perfect. But yeah, Walker leads by 8,000 votes now. We look at where the votes remain. They don't even know where the votes remain even. So who knows what's going on, but let's refresh. Yeah, Walker got to 10 cents. He's up by 8,000 votes almost. All right, here we go. Train Z29 says, is it time for the GOP to avoid what the UK Labour Party went through in the 80s with their series of losses? The path for victory going forward is very narrow, and after losing more state houses. We just got to, like I said, get an operation going. The Dems have had one for a while. We don't have one. That's why we lose. We don't know how to play the game. We're playing the game of the 1980s and the 1990s. We think that because we won big then, we're going to win big now. That's not how this works. This is a new era in American politics. You're going to have to go reach the voter. And that's the bottom line. What I saw was not a red wave. It was a purple rain of sorts. In some places, it was a red tsunami. In other places, it was a blue thunderstorm, mainly Michigan. Pray for my home state, please. One of my home states. But yeah, Herschel up now by 1.2%, 59% of the vote reporting. He has a 25,000 vote lead. And then he expands that lead, I believe, by a couple hundred with that vote dump. So already we see this here. It broke the system. You would imagine that the remaining votes, and how much did Cobb County went for Warnock by 50,000 in round one. So you could say that maybe Warnock is going to gain another 25,000 there. Gwinnett County, Warnock is up by 50,000. I mean, he might not gain much more there. Fulton, he'll gain more, even though Walker will still gain off of that 18%. There are still some counties left where Dems will gain, but he's building a cushion. 59% of the vote reporting. He leads by 25,000 votes. And they broke the needle. So it's not over. We'll see what happens. Modern Josephus says, I don't think DeSantis will run. I hope he doesn't. And he will tarnish his legacy if he does. And especially if Trump beats him in a primary. So now we have 4,400 viewers in here because more people are tuning in to see the gains for Walker. Make sure you guys like this stream. Make sure you guys subscribe if you're new as well. But Brett Dooch says, I live in Northampton County, Pennsylvania. Big issue right now is we have a large amount of people moving into these counties from New York and New Jersey. New Jersey, right? Because it's cheaper and vote. Well, yeah. I mean, if that's the case, they should have backed Oz because he's from New Jersey, right? But no, yeah, it is true. It is a problem. And that's why some of these statewide elections in blue states do matter more than maybe we've given them credit for, because of the fact that the states can be more livable and you don't have some of the liberal transplants moving there. But I mean, still, you do have a lot of conservative transplants moving to certain places, but I guess it might be different who's leaving, California for Nevada compared to who's leaving New Jersey for Pennsylvania. Sam Madsen says, other years haven't been so pro-incumbent, though. Was it because of the governor spending all that stimulus money? It's possible. I don't know. I mean, DeWine was able to win by so much because he got Democrats to vote for him because of the lockdowns. I mean, his showing with the base was like a hold-your-nose vote for the most part. But, I mean, I guess it has to do with that. I mean, The governors were on, I mean, you could even argue the governors were in front of the camera more because of COVID, and that raised their profile. Whether people really cared about the COVID issue in 2022 or not, which, I mean, some people didn't. Okay, Herschel, now he's got a 34,000 vote lead. He leads by 1.6%, 60% of the vote reporting. No movement in the betting odds, but the needle has broken. Still, the estimates have been broken. A lot of these counties up here are moving to the right compared to round one, which is a good sign for Herschel. There's still some red counties that haven't reported a single ballot, by the way, for what it's worth. Hitman47 says, I seriously worry if the Dems take the lead in the Senate because they are on record as wanting to pack the Supreme Court. I don't know if they'd have enough votes to get that done, but it definitely is a massive net negative, and I've talked about why. Okay, 42,000 vote lead for Walker. He leads by 2 points. He's padding that margin. As we speak, he leads by 2. It's not over, but he's gaining in terms of his lead. A lot of these rural counties are starting to dump their election day ballots in there. He's gaining in every single vote dump. He now has a 43,200 vote lead. So that's good news. We'll see what happens when it's all said and done. But I'll take a Herschel win if it does happen. I mean, I didn't predict it, but I'm fine getting that one wrong. Bosto23 says DeSantis is the GOP establishment's Trump, a Trump they can control and who will toe the GOP line. I mean, to a certain degree, they view him that way. Whether he is that or not, he hasn't shown us. He's focusing on Florida, but the second he does decide to step into the national arena, if he even does, we're going to learn a lot about Ron DeSantis, and his popularity, especially among the base, may very well dip. Okay, big dump for Warnock there. 3% of the vote was dumped there. That was out of, where was that out of? Oh, out of Cobb County. And still, Herschel's in the lead. Cobb County reported the remainder of their early votes. Again, keep in mind, Cobb vote. So Walker's going to gain in Cobb, whatever's left in Cobb. He's going to have a net gain more likely than not. But he still has a 21,000 vote lead despite that. So that's good news, I guess. But we still have Atlanta to count. So he needs to pad that margin if he wants to win, regardless if he's winning right now or not. So they still have the estimates paused, but he has a 1-point lead. He's up by a decent amount, but not by enough to really feel super comfortable about this. Top Dog Obedience has stopped complaining about the the GOP allows it. Can't even blame the left at this point. They don't want to stop it. Well, they don't want to play the game with the election system, period. That's what I keep telling people. And we need to actually start doing that or we're going to keep losing. Okay, Walker gained a little bit off that vote dump. 64% of the vote is in. DM Production says, whenever you get the time, watch that 3-part Jonathan Wichman video about Wisconsin politics. You'd find it fascinating. All right, maybe if I get a chance. Joseph Falls says, who do you support for RNC chairman? Like I said earlier, probably Zeldin, because I think he would be a team player, and we don't have that right now. We don't. And Rana doesn't know what the hell she's doing. Darth Vader 33 says, will Arizona ever go red again? Love Carrie, but I think she scared some voters off. Love your streams and analysis. Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year. Well, thank you. I don't think Carrie scared some. I think the people that scared some voters off were Katie Hobbs at the 11th hour in particular. But either way, that state is still the toss-up of all toss-ups. And it will be the toss-up of all toss-ups probably in 2024. But you look at some of those ballot measures there, they should not have even come close to passing, but they did, and it's sad. Okay, Walker's up again by 30. He's up by 33,000 votes. So more votes are being counted. He's up by 33,000. So we'll see. imagine if he won. Could you imagine if he actually won? Which again, it's still, you still have a lot of votes to count in Metro Atlanta. I'm not saying that's gonna be guaranteed to happen, but there is a chance. You could even say 50-50 at this point. Could you imagine if he did win? Again, if he wins, they'll blame Trump. They'll say he won because he stayed out of it. Even though when Trump was telling people to vote for Walker, they said, oh, it moves from toss-up to lean D. Like, first of all, it was lean D to begin with. Maybe not after tonight, but, I mean, seriously. None of these people are they're jokes. They're just not serious people. Herschel gained again. 37,000 vote lead, 65% of the vote reporting. So, already, you can't even see where the votes remain because they don't even know. But we have to count the votes in DeKalb County and Fulton. The remaining votes in Cobb and Gwinnett probably favor Herschel, even if they do so marginally, margin-wise. So does he have enough votes outstate to counteract what's coming with the cavalry in the Atlanta area? I'm not entirely sure he does, but if he keeps padding the margins the way he's been doing, who knows? But just release the votes, period. He gained again. He's now up to almost 40,000. So that's good news for him. But in terms of Arizona going red again, it could. But again, gotta play the game with that electoral system effectively. So whatever happens on election day doesn't make a difference. Alex Kuchar says Herschel Walker stiff arms radical liberal Raphael Warnock for the first down. Yeah, well, he needs to score a touchdown, and the best way he could do that is by finishing off Warnock, which, again, I'm not sure if he can, and I'm not trying to be a doomer. I'm just trying to be very cautious about this because we know a lot of Atlanta's still out there, and it's important to know that it's going to go down the wire. We're probably not going to know until like 80 to 85% of the votes are counted, but he did hit that election day target with the turnout. He's up by 41,000 votes. He's expanding that lead for right now. So we'll see. It just depends on the margins he gets with what's remaining in the suburbs and how big the turnout is in a place like Fulton. Because I think that you could argue there's like 200,000 votes out there that are going to just be straight Warnock. Herschel has almost a 50,000 vote lead, but there are a lot of votes left that have not been counted that are Warnock favorable. So do keep that in mind. Again, if you're just getting in here, like that stream up, hit that subscribe button if you're new, and we're gonna watch these results as they pour in. So Benson X says watch Cobb and Gwinnett. If they're early votes, Walker may get close enough. They are early votes. They are. Which, again, gives Walker hope because he's not really losing much more from what's left in the suburbs than he's already lost. And he has the lead. It all comes down to DeKalb, and it comes down to Cobb, well, not Cobb, but Fulton as well, to a lesser extent even. So, like I said, there's 200 to 250,000 votes left that are probably just going to favor Warnock. Herschel has a lot of votes left, too, in the rurals, but is it going to be enough to counteract it? Who knows? Yeah, he might need the suburbs to pad him a little bit, but I don't know if it'll be enough. Chris Williams says ballot harvesting register Republicans, favorable drop boxes, and audit voter rolls. We need to follow the plan of Florida, California, and New York in this election. How do we get this movement going before 2024? A change in the GOP leadership would be a pretty good place to start, and I'll say that. But we'll see. FIM Writers Group says, think if this lead holds past 60% of the vote reporting, Walker wins. Well, the lead's expanded with 65, so I don't know if that's the be-all and end-all. But let's check the betting odds right now. Yeah, 95 to 6 right now, 95 to 6. But like I said, it's not over. There's no need to be overly celebratory or to panic either. But we'll see. Let's see here. Miku Huntu 4X Bot says, here comes the Doomp from Atlanta. Yeah, we'll wait on the Atlanta Doomp. We'll see. But interesting. I'm trying to see here from one of these models that I found what the end result is going to be. I'm not entirely sure if I could pull this up. If it shows... But either way, right now, it's looking like a pure toss-up. So toss up maybe tilt Warnock, but Walker keeps gaining with every vote dump. He's got that lead to 50,000, so it's not over yet. It's not over. Comic Artist Pro Secrets is feeling better yet ready. Go get ready for a surprise win. Told you so. Hey, listen, like I said, cautiously optimistic about it, but I mean, we'll wait and see when the results are tabulated because there are still, okay, wait, where we go? Warnock just took the lead. And where did he get those? Oh, he got the DeKalb dump. He got the DeKalb dump. Or DeKalb, I should say. So he has taken the lead from that. So he gained probably 100,000 votes there almost. So they finally dumped Atlanta. He has a lead of around 33,000. 31% of the vote remaining. But still, this one is still going to, I mean, is that nearly enough for right now? I don't know. Herschel just gained some more. So 69% of the vote is in. Atlanta's starting to fill in. So not over. Not over quite yet. So we'll see. Let's see. Nick H says, do you still care what Barris thinks after 2022? I mean, everybody has their bad cycle, but he's gotta adjust his methodology or something. I don't really care what a lot of pollsters have to say. I mean, I still, willing to listen to all kinds of commentary. Barris is definitely one of those people that I still think is worth a listen. But in terms of his electoral predictions, he's going to need to change his methodology and go back to the drawing board, as I am as well. So if Herschel Walker wins tonight, technically that would be a false prediction on my part. But it's still very close. It's very close. And the betting odds haven't moved. I think they've been way too bullish on Warnock so far, but they were just so bullish to begin with that I don't think that the needle was really ever going to move that much. So Herschel gained some. He's down 22,000. But we need more. We still need more votes out of the Atlanta area. And keep in mind, these are early votes. The early vote dump has been complete out of DeKalb County. So Warnock probably has like 150,000 net votes left out of those two counties or so. Herschel could still get that given what's out there. It's going to go down the wire more likely than not. But it's not like, oh, well, the vote dump comes in, it's doom. It's like, it was already kind of doomed before, but like it was going to come in at some point. Would you rather have it come in now or would you rather have it come in later? It's probably better that it came in now. And there's still a lot of time. This is what, a 16,000 vote game? That was like 40,000 in favor of Warnock like a couple minutes ago. Jeremy Brandon says, I've been doomer since the midterms, but I'm checking in for a hit of hopium. Don't get your hopes too high. I guess we'll say that, but we'll see what happens. Gerald Armstrong says, stop the count. Well, not now. Maybe when you sent that super chat, but not now. Alex S says, what are you drinking? A little bit of coffee in this mug, which, by the way, you guys can buy this America First mug on the merch store at shop.redeaglepolitics.com. We have great coffee mugs, probably some of the best mugs that I've really owned. And I'm not just saying that to promote my own product. I genuinely like the mugs. So Sam Madsen says, hi, good night, everybody. Yeah, Fetterman moment. All right, wait. Yep, Herschel gained more. Let's go back and look at the shift map for all the counties that are all the way in. So the counties north of Atlanta are coming in pretty sizable. And they're really benefiting Herschel. He's doing well in MTG's district, by the way. I don't know if that's because Marcus Flowers spent a bunch of money there in the general. I don't know if that's really the reason, but or just she did what she could do for Walker as well. But it's a 12,000 vote game. Man with Two Eyes says they're counting very quickly, it seems. It's how it should be all the time. No reason for any state to take several days. Yeah, we're probably not going to know the end results like within like an hour or so, but we'll have a better picture. I'll leave it at that. We'll have a better picture sooner or later. Charles Turner Jr., thanks for the 20, by the way, says, Rep, great job. Dr. Trillian, you were my two favorites for long-term analysis in regards to politics, culture, etc. I just moved from King County, Washington to Twin Falls County, Idaho, and I intended to do my part to help keep Idaho ruby red. Well, there you go. I mean, there's definitely a cultural center in northern Idaho that is growing, and it's very, very right-wing. And that's a very good thing. We need more centers like that. Democrats have Vermont. It's like we need our own Vermont. Let's make Idaho our own Vermont. The PaleoCon answer to the Marxist cesspool known as Vermont. Yeah, there you go. Daniel Krieger says, hey, Reb, keep up the great work. When this is over, I think it'll either be Warnock by 1-2 or Walker by 3-5. If Walker wants to win big, he may have to get at least 30 in DeKalb. Yeah, no, it's not going to be that. There's no way Walker's going to be able to win by that much. It's probably going to be within a couple of points either way. And if Walker wins, it's going to be by a hair, by the skin of his teeth. I don't think there's any disputing that. But Christopher Laurie says, I love when the Never Trumpers say when Trump became president, we kept losing, disregarding 2018, winning the Senate, gains in the House in 2020, and the majority in 2022. They don't have credibility. They don't, because it's the same talking points the Dems use, the same talking points the resist libs use. If you sound indistinguishable from a resist lib in 2018, you have no business calling yourself a conservative. That's not to say you can't criticize Trump or have legitimate criticisms. None of their criticisms are legitimate. And that is where my issue with these people lies, is that they're just not serious people. They just don't have a conviction other than the illusion that DeSantis is going to bring them a red map, and who knows what else will happen. And it's like, who knows if he'll do that? If the party's that divided, I don't think either one of them is going to be able to win. And they're dividing the party even more. They started this. They're the ones that have been attacking Trump nonstop and his supporters. If you still support him in any capacity, you're a cultist. Like, you sound just like the Dems, the Dem cult, the resist lib, the reply guys. Like, remember the reply guys to Trump's Twitter? They sound identical to them. Spider says these results are so unexpected. This is amazing. Well, it's not over. I don't think they're that unexpected. I think if Walker wins, they're unexpected. But, I mean, given the turnout that we saw, even if it was anecdotally, we knew it was going to be close. It's a 13,000 vote ball game right now. 72% of the votes are in. There still are more Dem favorable votes. Make no mistake. But the needle was broken. It's been paused. So Walker Baraja says, I think Deshaun Porter is more eluctable than Herschel Walker. Lifo Foley says, California's GOP really got their act. Yeah, they did. For such a broken down state party, at least they're focusing on winning these congressional races, which, again, they needed to win. Danny L says, eyes need to be on Brian Kemp this time around. I mean, eyes need to be on him for what? Mark Lopez says Dems are redacted, time to change the Constitution. Yeah, I mean, the Constitution needs updating. If the Founding Fathers who wrote the Constitution saw the country in the state that it's in, saw the culture in the state that it's in, there is zero chance that they're going to write the same exact document that they wrote. And I will say that. And I like the Constitution. It's definitely kind of like our document, one of the better documents of all time. But I mean, it doesn't need to be worshipped, and it can be changed. All of these, like, you have all these people that are basically up in arms and outraged because Trump said that the Constitution, parts of the Constitution may have to be suspended because of big tech interfering in elections. And the Founding Fathers didn't know what an iPhone was. They didn't even know what Apple was. So they maybe have heard of the fruit, the apple. They never heard of these companies. They didn't know what a Twitter was. A tweet was a noise a bird made, even if that term was coined back then. Like, let's be real here. You're not, like, out of line for saying that we need to change the Constitution or update the Constitution. Conservatives have been talking about a convention of states for years, and now it's within 1,000 votes. But like the difference is they would probably just add like a balanced budget amendment or something. Like, we need actual change. I don't think the Constitution needs to be radically altered, but you need provisions in cases of tyranny for certain mega corporations that did not exist and nobody even had an idea of what it would be 30, 40 years ago. This whole like worship of a document. No, we don't worship the Constitution. We worship God. This is America. And that's the difference. We have provisions in our Constitution that allows it to be changed in the first place. However, one could argue that the country's been so radically changed since then to the point where those provisions might need updating. And there we go. Herschel has taken the lead back. 73% of the vote has reported so far. So he's taken it back. See what the betting odds say. He's at 4 cents. So he has the lead for now by 500 votes. Stop the count yet again. Jonathan Owen says CNN said, wait, it'll switch back to Warnock. And just as you said that, it did, which it's going to probably go back and forth for a minute here. Mark Lopez sent the same super chat again. Goes to Franco, says once Fetty has Neuralink put in 2024 is his to lose. Yeah, I know. And this is the thing. Herschel Walker, they attacked him for like, I don't know, disability, which again, he didn't really have. He's kind of an interesting character. He's not like the most well-spoken guy, you know, but he did well in the debate compared to expectations. And he's acknowledged that on many occasions. But Fetterman, on the other hand, can't even talk properly at all. He can't complete a sentence to save his life properly, yet we're supposed to prop him up, and if you hate him, you hate disabled people. This world that we live in, man, I tell you, you can't, don't cave in. Talk about candidate quality. Like, Herschel Walker is a far better candidate than John Fetterman is, like, by all metrics. But it's not about, candidate quality is who the establishment lets win. That's the difference. Dragon fan Tim says, will Tudor Dixon run again in Michigan? I don't know. Honestly, I hope she doesn't. I mean, she lost by a ridiculous margin to a very horrendous governor. So I really would not be upset if she just never showed her face again in politics. Chrissy Hunsaker says, I'm politically homeless after this cycle. Constitutionalists agree with many Dem and GOP positions don't fit in anywhere. Well, you should come on board is what I should say. Anybody in the middle that's really discontent with what's going on in our country, understand it's been the left. It's been the establishment. There's no reason for anybody not to come on board, period. So, Attack Revenge has kept campaign hard for Walker in the past 2 weeks. Flyers endorsed by Kemp for 14 days straight. Georgia Republicans got behind Walker and Trump disappeared. Well, he did a tele-rally for him, I believe, the other day. I think Trump got involved the right amount. I mean, I don't think that it would have been like radically changed if Trump did a rally with Herschel. Like, but whatever. Miku Huntu 4X Bot says, don't worry, Dem Bros, another Doomp batch incoming. Yeah, they'll get some, obviously. I mean, they have a lot left out of Fulton and DeKalb to be counted. Probably going to gain around 60K there and probably another, I don't know, 50K in Fulton. Round one in Fulton. Warnock won by ridiculous margin. He won by 200,000 votes. He's not going to get that there this time, but he's already up by 130. He's probably going to gain around, I don't know, he's going to gain 100,000 votes left. Walker leads by 2,000. So there are votes in the rurals. I know that. The suburbs are going to be a wash probably with what's left. So, yeah, I think Warnock probably is the favorite, but it's not over. It's still going to be closer than I think some people expected, including myself. Ablex says, sorry, just tuning in, can Walker win? I think I just answered that question. But I guess he could. But I don't think the math is entirely there, given what's left. There's some votes out of Cherokee County, Forsyth, Paulding that are going to benefit him, pad his margin. There are a lot of red counties that haven't reported 100%. This is true. But Atlanta's still out there, and he doesn't lead by enough to overcome Atlanta. We still have Dodge and Wilkinson yet to report. And again, those are not blue counties to my knowledge, given the blue counties here. But yeah, Augusta's all the way in. Savannah's not all the way in, but the remainder of those votes there very well could benefit Herschel, given what's out there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So like the stream, subscribe if you're new, subscribe to the channel. I don't know when networks are not going to call this race with Herschel ahead. Just throwing that out there. So Rufus Zoo says, here are some pennies for you, Buffin Lowell. It's the fake Rufus, the parody Rufus, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. These are the people we have to deal with. We have to deal with real Rufus. Fake Rufus is funny. Real Rufus? Nah, real Rufus is a train wreck. Now he's saying Trump's going to lose Indiana or Montana. It's like, well, you said that in 2016 that those states would be surprise flips for Hillary. So I don't know if he has the best track record with these things either. But Herschel has a 2,000 vote lead, 26% left. I'd like for them to bring back the needle, or at least bring back where we think the votes remain, that panel. But yeah, 2.6 million ballots have been cast. Round one, there were almost 4 million. We're not going to get that. We're probably going to get like 3.2 million or so, give or take in that range. Dallas Sucks 69 says, do you think Romney went soft because he got dragged through the mud in 2012 and is trying to save his legacy? I mean, he's kind of like ruined his legacy within the right, so I don't know if you could even say that that's accurate. I think he's just very soft. He's very naive. He's basically your typical Utah Mormon politician. I mean, all of them have pretty much caved on literally everything. And, well, that's the way it is. Utah is a mess. Their GOP is a mess. They're winning. Mike Lee got by and was basically a primary by 10, which was kind of a white pill in and of itself, but I don't know. Mike Lee is probably their best, and he's not even that great, so that's what you're dealing with. So we're waiting on more results. I prefer more vote dumps as soon as we possibly can. Let's get this show on the road here. I want to know who actually wins this thing. Like I said, Dems are favored. Doesn't necessarily mean that Herschel is officially done for. There still are some votes remaining. He leads by 3,000 almost. 74% of the vote is in. So we're just waiting on several counties here. There will be more votes in out of blue areas, just for those that are tuning in. But Herschel now leads by 4,000 votes. So he's gaining in vote dumps, but is he gaining by enough? I hope he does, but it's still not looking like it's enough. Mr. Tech says, it makes no sense pausing the needle. The definition of toss-up is we don't know. So if you don't know, just make it at a toss-up unless they can't cope. Yeah, I just don't see why they would need to stop the needle. I mean, Herschel wasn't, like, doing that good to the point where it was, like, breaking their like, minds. They should know how many ballots are left regardless. I don't know why they would stop the needle, but we'll see. But Georgia as a state in and of itself, not what it used to be. Plain and simple. Everybody can agree with that. And you could thank the growth in the Atlanta metro for that. You can. Nick H. says, one electable I talked to on Twitter said DeSantis would win Bucks County and outperform Trump in Lackawanna and Monroe. I mean, maybe he could be. I think he'd run competitive in Bucks. I don't think he'd outperform Trump in Lackawanna or Monroe, though. I think that that's just wish casting. Maybe if Biden was not running on the Dem ticket, that would be the case. But, I mean, that's his home county. So that would kind of explain that factor. He's not going to get Trump 2016 margins there. Now Herschel leads by 5,000 votes. Chrissy Hunsaker says, too bad Arizona couldn't have had a runoff. Yeah, I mean, either way, that was the runoff, though. There was a Republican and a Dem. They didn't have third parties in Arizona. So I don't know what a runoff would have done because one got above 50. Yeah, got above 50. How? Leave that up to the viewer to determine. So Walker now leads by 6,300 votes. So he's padding the margin, but like I said, not by enough yet. Okay, now he's taking more of a lead. He's up by 9,000. Where are these votes coming in from? That's what I want to know. Paulding County, I think, dropped some, which is at Walker plus 24, which I'm trying to find it here. That was Walker plus 24 round 1. So that's not enough either way to move that needle. But he leads by 9,000. Bob Dole with 50. Thank you. Says, let another election S begin by the commies. Well, like I said, the early votes are all in. The mail-in votes are all in. So whatever's left is election day. Whatever's left is election day. I will say that. Walker leads by 11,000. He's up by 0.4%. And now he leads. Oh, he lost ground. I don't know what county reported, but he lost a little bit of ground. I think Clayton reported a batch there. So he's still up by 8,000. Simon Mueller says the two counties not reported went to GOP by 3,100 in 2020. So I guess you could say there's probably a couple thousand votes out there for Herschel as well. I mean, that's probably not going to be enough to make the difference in the grand scheme of things, but he leads by 10,000. 75% of the vote is in. So, let's see. Okay, wait a minute. Now Warnock has taken the lead. Where did those votes come in from? Oh, of course. It was DeKalb. DeKalb reported ballots. Now he's up by 30,000. So they're 64% of the way done. So like I said, the Dem votes coming in are going to eat into Walker's lead. Walker may retake the lead at some point, but then there's likely going to be the other Dem votes in that are going to narrow that. I mean, with whatever's remaining, it's not entirely looking to be the best for Herschel. Not even trying to doom here, but I mean, that was pretty much the onset opinion from a lot of people. So, OG Steven 2001 says, I love the New York Times data as an issue as Walker took the lead, but yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know why they would need to stop it, given the fact that Dems had votes remaining. And then now Herschel gained some. He's down by just 1 point. Cuts that lead to 29,000, 28,000. Yeah, it's like I said, not really looking too good. There are still some more votes out there for both, but I probably would say that the final margin is going to look like this. And again, this Senate seat's going to be held for 6 years. It'll be up again in 2028. At that point, Georgia's probably going to be gone, so even if Herschel does win, it's going to be hard seeing him hold it past then if he was to win. So, all right, that lead is 28,000 or so. And now it's cut to 27,000. DJ Aftershock says, Rufus be like proof that Trump picks our 90 IQ buffins. Walker is winning because he's eluctable, half Asian, and in a romance with DeSantis. Yeah, I mean, honestly, when it comes down to Walker winning that primary, he got support from every Republican. I was skeptical of his scandals from the onset. I made a video about it back in the day when it looked like he wasn't going to run. But when he jumped in, he wasn't losing that primary. He's a hometown hero. Like, Trump or not. So, and the GOP establishment backed him as well. And it's not like he ran like a super Trumpian campaign. He ran pretty generic R campaign. So, I'm not entirely sure that any loss from him can be blamed on Trump entirely. But they're going to find a way anyways. They'll say, oh, well, he wanted him to run. It's like, okay. But the GOP establishment also backed him, so you're not going to blame them. You could blame both of them, but you don't blame both of them for some reason. Wonder why. Modern Josephus says, where did the Libertarians go? Probably about even given the map, or they just stayed home. I think the Libertarian candidate didn't endorse at all. I could be wrong, but who knows. Manifest Destiny said, do you think these suburban counties might swing back as they age? I mean, that's an interesting theory. I know millennials have moved a little bit to the right from 10 years ago, but I mean, as they age, you're looking at Zoomers, the young Generation Z. How are they voting? Not in the best way. And I want to do a whole video on that as well. I think there's a lot of things that could be talked about and kind of tap into culture, mix that with electoral politics there. But, I mean, even as millennials get older, the silver lining is that conservatives are having more kids than liberals. But at the end of the day, I think that it's important to note that immigration's a factor, and some cultural changes will be impossible to reverse as well at this point. So, yeah, exactly. We'll have to wait and see. As I always say, it's a 20,000 vote difference right now. 78% of the vote is in. So 22% is left on the map right now. Cobb has reported more. I believe it was pretty much a wash. If anything, Walker might have gained some in Cobb. So we'll see. Memes Lord says, as a leftist, the left is not the establishment. The establishment hates Bernie and the left. The establishment supports the Lib Dems, not the left. Well, they know that the Bernie wing is always going to fall in line with whatever the establishment wants. There really is not this anti-establishment left that is super distinguishable from the mainstream left at this point. Maybe you could make a case for that being the case back in 2016 or so. But I mean, yeah, they're not going to let Bernie get the nomination. They've adopted most of his social policies. And at the end of the day, he's going to fall in line with it, whatever they want. They're the useful idiots for the establishment left. So that's what I'll say about that one. So let's see. Nothing new. Let's check the betting odds real quick. Let's check the betting odds. 96-4. Yeah, it's not looking too good for Herschel, I will say that. And not like I anticipated him to win in the first place, but yeah, what can I say? Still not called. He has votes left for him, but probably not enough. So, Ghost of Franco says, how's the woman situation? Rep, well, you got to trust the plan. That's what I say. You got to trust the plan. John Waffle H2P says, how do we save North Carolina? Well, I think we already have North Carolina. I think taking back the governorship would be a great step in the right direction. So we'll see. But it's a 20,000 vote lead for Warnock. He gained a little bit in that vote dump. He's up by 21,000 now. Let's check on Fulton. What's Fulton at? 55% of the vote is in. 55% of the vote is in. So nothing has changed in Fulton ever since the initial vote drop. Nothing has changed. Richard Head says, I see nothing but black pills about 2022. Fair? Not entirely, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it was a net negative for the Republican Party, given the circumstances and the fact that they probably lost a Senate seat net, given what's going on tonight. And we'll have to see what happens between now and 2024. I think 2023, electorally speaking, there's not a lot going on. There will be some white pills, obviously. We'll see if DeSantis runs in 2024 against Trump. That's going to be something to watch. There will be the 3 governorships up in the South, Kentucky. I think that one could be flippable. I don't think it's a guarantee. Like I said, it depends on the nominee, depends how they campaign. I think Louisiana is an easy insta-flip, and hopefully Bill Cassidy stays out of that race. And then we talk about Mississippi. Could there be a primary challenge to at least push Tate Reeves to the right? I don't think that they'll, knock him out in the primary, but we'll see. And then Virginia, their state Senate elections are up. They need to flip 1 seat. The party there has gotten more competent. Yeah, I think that they very well could do that. So there are white pills for next year and things to watch, but it's kind of boring to a lot of people, maybe. But we got a long way to go. Sam Madsen said, how did Bud do worse in the metro areas than Trump? That's a bit concerning long term. Bud didn't really have much of a campaign. I think he took his victory for granted. That's the way I see it. So maybe that's partially what played a role. I think that he didn't do that. I mean, he didn't do that well in the primary there compared to the rest of the state. But I mean, I don't know. It's important to look at. He still did better than Trump. He won by like 4. Should have won by a lot more though. So it is something to look at. It might be a little concerning, but I don't know how concerning it truly is ahead of 2024. Because those suburbs are still very, very red, and you still have a lot of rural North Carolina that is moving right. And it's not even close to maxed out in some places, mainly in the northeastern part. So, Mr. Tech said, Needle paused. IMO internal numbers give GOP narrow edge. They fear reps will say election redacted if Needle moves back to Warnock, so better pause. I mean, I don't know what there is to exactly fear on their part. The Needle should never have moved that far in the first place to the left. I will say that. Now, Herschel's got it within 16,000 or so that's good news for him. We're still waiting on the final 20% to report here. We're 2 hours in. We're 2 hours and 23 minutes into the live stream. So yeah, 16,000 votes. You still have a couple counties that haven't reported yet. This is true. I think they're in southern Georgia. Maybe. Or maybe not. I'm just looking at the map wrong. But we are waiting on counties to report. The shift map in and of itself, and this is another super chat, Mick Layout Automation sent that. Look at the shift map. It's wild. And this is true. Now, some of these counties that say 95+% might have more votes in them, but it seems like a regional factor. Certain areas turned out a lot more for Herschel than certain other rural areas. You see a left shift across the Black Belt in particular, which again, early voting, that's what was utilized in those places, worked wonders for the Dems. This is a 15,000 vote lead, but if it comes down to within 20, 30,000 votes, this runoff may have been lost in many places because of the Republicans' unwillingness to use early vote in the red counties the way that they did in suburban Atlanta. And there was like a week of early voting that was just taking place in suburban Atlanta, and you didn't see that in a lot of these rural red counties that were a part of a lawsuit trying to stop it. And what happened? Well, that could be the margin of error there. Even if it's within 50,000, 60,000 votes. Because I don't think that Warnock is going to win this thing by a ridiculous amount. He's not going to win it. I don't think he'll win it by like 150,000. I don't even know if there's 100,000 votes left that directly benefit him. I mean, maybe, yeah, out of, you could say, okay, well, he's up 130 in DeKalb County. You know, he'll probably gain maybe 20, 30,000 votes there. Fulton, maybe you could say he'll gain 20, 30,000 votes there. That put him at 60,000. The rest of the remaining ballots probably do benefit Herschel, even if it's not by much. So, yeah. And Herschel gains. He's now down by 12,000, 80% of the vote reporting. So he might actually take the lead again, yet again. And this has been a recurring theme on the night. He's gaining in these smaller vote dumps. The bigger vote dumps in the cities, mainly Atlanta, are helping Warnock and pushing him ahead. And you saw a little bit of a vote dump there. And they changed it from 80 to 79. They're still trying to find out what votes are left to count. But Fulton did report some more. So that's where some of that Warnock dump was out of Fulton. Lucas Thompson says, do you think there is any hope to flip Minnesota in the future at a state level? Not with the current state GOP, no way. They have a long way to go. Sam Madsen said, what would Michigan and Minnesota look like if they had good state GOPs? Competitive, if not even lean red states. There's a lot of work to do. These are very economically centric states in terms of the issues they care about. And yeah, I think things like immigration and culture, to a certain degree, they don't like political correctness, they don't like mass immigration, but economics is another issue overall. And a lot of Republicans don't even touch base on the whole political correctness or wokeism effectively. I mean, Youngkin did in Virginia, but Dixon really didn't do that very well in Michigan. Not to mention she was ridiculously outspent, but I mean, Nick H says, what's wrong with Minnesota voters? Stockholm syndrome of sorts. I don't know. These people live on a different, they operate on a different wavelength. Walker got within 8,000 votes, by the way. Under 8,000 votes, 80% of the vote reporting. So there's probably, okay, doing the math here, 20% of the ballots are not reported yet. So there's probably around 500 to 600,000 ballots left. They haven't called this yet, but yeah, 97.4 in the betting odds. We don't know the end result, but either way, there are probably around 550,000 votes remaining that have yet to be counted, and Warnock is favored in the Atlanta area. In Fulton, DeKalb, like I said, he's probably going to get around another 100,000 off of that alone. Is there enough for Walker to make up that difference? I'm not sure I see it, especially because he's trailing by 8,000 right now. He is gaining, but still. Wubio the Cocker Spaniel says Minnesota's as red as it can be. We bow to Minneapolis. I don't think so. The rural areas they're not entirely maxed out either. They're not voting like the rurals in Ohio or even Iowa. I mean, Minneapolis and St. Paul are definitely the moving factor in that state. But still, I mean, the rurals could be a lot redder than they are right now. Charles says Harmeet Dillon or Lee Zeldin. I like them both. Honestly, I'd be fine with. I guess Zeldin, I think, in terms of his ability to get whatever the hell he got done in New York, didn't matter if the candidates were on either side of the political spectrum on the right wing. You saw massive wins all around. So we'll see. But I think Zeldin overall is the option. Given what he did, he gave up his seat to save the party, even though, like, what's actually going to come of that, I don't know. But I don't know. The bottom line is we need a change in our leadership, a change in our establishment. And we need a team player as well leading the GOP. Not somebody who sabotages certain people because they don't like them. And I don't think that Ronna Romney McDaniel, which is what you have to call her. Don't call her Ronna McDaniel. She's Ronna Romney McDaniel. She's very much a part of that same family. And she used that name when it was beneficial for her to. And when it's been beneficial for her to drop the name, she's just Ronna McDaniel. So why is that? Why is that? But either way, she just doesn't really know how to win. And that's an issue as well. Nick H says, we all know Ronna Romney will still be the chair. Well, we'll see. She doesn't deserve to be the chair. You are in a situation where you have essentially a football team that was supposed to go to the playoffs, 12-5, I guess we'll say now, because they added an extra game. And you go 3-13, or even like 8-8. It's like, no. I mean, you need to win. You need to win big. You need to go out there and dominate. You need to bring home a victory. You can't do that doing whatever the hell you're doing right now. Chauncey Hart says, I'm moving to rural Wisconsin. Minnesota's gone. That's a good move. Pads the margin in Wisconsin, I guess. Charles says, I live in New York and we owe Congress to Zeldin. Yep. IB says, Dave just called for Warnock. Did he actually? I mean, I'm not surprised if he did, but I given what I've heard today from the live chat, yeah, he did. He did. Warnock gained in Macon as well. He was gaining in some of these smaller counties. So, yeah, Warnock is probably going to win, I will say. Even if Herschel does retake the lead, I don't think it will stand given how many votes are left in the Atlanta Metro. So, like it or not, that's the way it... Oh, Herschel did take the lead. He has a 4,000 vote lead. So, we'll see how long it lasts. He's competitive. He's hanging with them. But look how many votes are left. There's a lot of votes left in Fulton. Probably around 80, or probably even much greater than that. Probably like 100-some thousand. That's going to net Warnock around who knows how many votes. Probably another 40, 50,000. You look at DeKalb, I mean, that one's coming in more so. There's probably another 40, 50,000 votes that'll break and give Warnock another 30,000 votes there net. So, yeah, he'll gain like 60K net off those alone. The suburbs will be a wash. The rurals will benefit Walker by a little bit. Okay, he's up by 10,000 now. So whatever margin he gets now will help pad that margin, but it's probably not going to be necessarily enough. This could be the last time he leads tonight. So we'll see. 81% of the vote is in. It's been called by Dave Wasserman for radical liberal Raphael Warnock, as his robotic ex-opponent once called him. Andrew Mortensen said, sick of the GOP, we need more MAGA in Congress. We do, but the bottom line is that the GOP will do anything possible to sabotage anybody that goes against the grain. Now more so than ever. It was a lot easier in 2020, but also Trump being on the ballot helped. And you had a lot of fake MAGA that have shown their faces for what they truly are. Red Rocks is on a scale of 1, redacted, to 10, fair and clean. What do you rank this election? I mean, probably around... I'm not going to say it's 1. I'm not going to necessarily say it's probably 10 either. It's somewhere in between. But the Republicans did screw themselves regardless, given how they handled the early voting process. Once again, IB says Warnock flipped 3 counties. Yeah, I'm not surprised. And also, how did Trump staying out of the way turn out? As well. Oh, we got to keep Trump out of the way and have Brian Kemp go everywhere. It's like, okay, I mean, I'm not saying Trump would have like made a massive positive impact in this election, but I mean, I don't think that it would have made much of an impact either way, and maybe it wouldn't have hurt too much to, I don't know, do a rally and get tens of thousands of people to watch him rally for Herschel. I don't know. 5,000 vote lead, 82% in. Macintosh 1581 says, what are your thoughts on Lindell running for RNC chair? Great guy. Don't know if he's cut out for it. I'll say that. John Waffle H2P says, donate against McConnell and Capito. Yep. Well, what did they? Oh, Capito voted to codify or semi-codify Obergefell, and she's pro-choice or pro-abortion. Mitch McConnell, yeah, he needs to go. He might retire, but if not, he needs to go. So. Andrew Mortensen says, please run for House, bro. We need you. Rep 2028. I was thinking 2026, and then now I'm like, okay, maybe 2028. I'm not entirely sure. If Lisa McClain goes for Senate in 2026 against Peters, which she very may well, that seat's going to be open. I'll be eligible. I wouldn't mind moving back to that district. So, I mean, yeah, it's possible. I would like to make it happen. Absolutely, at some point, but we're a long ways away, and we have unfinished business to take care of in 2023, 2024, and then we could start talking about running for Congress. Maybe, I don't know, we'll have to see, but I would love to see the Electabros throw a temper tantrum at that. That'd be funny. Imagine, he's unelectable, he can't win the primary. I just like to see the meltdown if I did. Should be pretty funny, but I don't know. That's a long ways away. Long ways away. Herschel's in the lead still. 4,000 votes. 4,000 votes. So we're 82% to the way through here. Okay, now they move the needle back. 95% Warnock. I'm not surprised, but it took them long enough to put that needle back on. Now we know where the votes remain. And we could do some math here. We could actually go down to the estimate. What do they think the final margin's going to be? Warnock by 3.1, which again is not far off from our prediction of Warnock by 3.6, but still disappointing in the very slightest. Now, they believe that the remaining votes will benefit Warnock. He'll probably, in their view, end up winning by, 90,000 votes or so when it's all said and done. Again, some of the exurbs of Atlanta moving to the left. I guess that the whole Georgia Bulldogs route of them going to the college football playoff may not have been enough to save Herschel Walker. And that would have been a better angle for the campaign to go down. But what can I say? Chance Hansen says, we go gym? I don't know what that means. Like, we go to the gym, as in, like, workout gym? Went to the gym yesterday. Andrew Mortensen says, time for Trump to put Rep as his personal campaign manager. Enough of this BS. Rep knows how to get it done. As you see, I'm a huge fan of you. Well, thank you. He would probably do much better if I was his personal assistant. He would. I will say that. I think he would do much better if I was his personal assistant. I don't think you could really disagree with that a whole lot. Walker gained a little bit, by the way. It'd be funny. It'd be funny if I was the guy. Now, I don't know how to fully run a campaign, as in I don't know how to necessarily set up events or what. I don't really have a lot of experience, but I'd hire somebody that would. It wouldn't be difficult to get him back on track. It wouldn't. Now, Trump might not like me because I say he should improve here, here, and here. Like, he might not like that aspect of me because I tend to be blunt and honest. And if I don't like something, I'm going to say I don't like it. But I don't know. We'll see. So that's the last stand for Herschel. We're almost 3 hours in. He has an 8,700 vote lead. $8,700 votes. Now he leads by 11,000 votes, but I don't think that's changing much of what's left. You look at what's remaining. He's going to gain 10,000 plus he's going to gain 10,000 plus out of these two counties. That's what, 28,000, 20 or 33,000. There's some counties here. He's probably going to gain probably around 50,000 net out of those counties. And Warnock's going to gain, what, 7, 8? Okay, so in the remaining counties besides Fulton and DeKalb, Walker's going to have a net positive gain there. However, you look at these two counties, they're going to gain Warnock about 70,000 each. That's going to be too much to overcome. This thing's pretty much over. So, Danny L says Scott Pressler needs to be Trump's campaign manager. He needs to be in some... He gets a lot of people registered to vote, which is a good thing. So, he needs to do something. I guess. Wouldn't hurt. Omarachu says, why don't conservatives see the bigger picture with Trump in 24 and DeSantis in 2028, engage a second term, talk about 12 good years? I'm not entirely sold on DeSantis 2028. I'm open to it, depending on what happens over the next year or so. But I think that would probably be a good step in the right direction, although they'll probably say Trump will lose and DeSantis will end his career if he doesn't go in 28. So it's probably not going to work out. John Waffle H2P says, well, I hope they get trounced by Michigan or TCU now. Can't even vote for their hero. Yeah, well, sad. But, I mean, it's another L for carpetbaggers, too. And he's from Georgia, but he hasn't lived there in a very, very long time. So some people will say that that's another factor that plays into Herschel Walker, his underperformances or unlikability or whatever. I don't know. But the carpetbagger thing might have hurt Oz more than we thought. I'm not saying that was the only factor. I'm not saying it's the only factor here, but it's not a net positive. You know, he lives in Southlake, which is a Fort Worth suburb. It's in between Fort Worth and Dallas, a little bit north. So Sam Madsen says, at least any bad legislation passed in the Senate won't pass the House. And this is true. I mean, but at the same time, Kevin McCarthy, can we entirely count on him? I mean, he's probably going to be the speaker, like it or not. I don't like that fact, but who knows? Andrew Morton says, Trump to rep, I'm doing things my way. It's the best way, okay? Reps, time to listen to Papa Eagle, okay? You'll want to win, right? Trump says yes. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how that would work out. I don't know Trump personally. We see Trump in the media, even if he's covered positively. And who knows what it's like dealing with him in his war room. But I don't know. It'd be an interesting thing to do, to say the very least. It would be. Imperium Magistrate says, how would Perdue have done if he ran for Senate? I don't know. It's possible he would be less controversial. Maybe you could say that he would have gotten by on the first ballot. I don't know. He was also very lazy. He didn't know how to campaign properly, to the point where I can't say for certain that he would have done better. I think somebody like Calvin King, Gary Black, maybe they could have, but they didn't have any name recognition to compete in the first place in a primary, which is a problem. Star says, any thoughts on the Katie Hobbs news? If you're talking about the whole Twittergate thing, yeah, I'm not surprised. And I don't think anyone else is surprised either. And yeah, all these things play a role in what's happened over the past few years. Make no mistake. So, yeah, 85% of the vote is in. Warnock is going to win pretty much. I haven't called it yet, but everybody knows it at this point. And that's the way that it is. Let's see what the end result was. Let's see what the end result is projected to be real quick. Okay, it's a Warnock +3, so it went down. That's roughly in line with the prediction. So, I don't know. Overall, not the best night, but not like the most unexpected showing either. Alex P says off topic, but I was so happy to see Joe O'Day lose. I knew he was going to lose either way. I was glad to see by how much he lost by, one could say. I mean, it just shows you can't stab the base in the back like that. Stefanowski's another example. See, they look at the midterms and they now say the base doesn't matter. No, the base matters. DeSantis was well-liked among the base. Zeldin was well-liked among the base. Youngkin was well-liked among the base. Stefanowski, O'Day, all these liberal Republicans, they didn't do so well. So the base does matter, and the mechanics behind the machine matter, and who the establishment picks to win matters too. So Stars says 2023 is going to be interesting, just saying. Yeah, and I'll be here for it. So we'll probably end the stream soon. Sooner than later, I will say, because we know the way that this is going to go. We're just going to look at results bouncing between Warnock +1 and Warnock +2 over the next couple hours or so. So it's not the most eventful thing to watch, but it is what it is. So we'll probably end it soon. So this will be the last call for Super Chats. If you guys have anything you want to send to me, anything that you want to say, last second takes about this, feel free. Decision Desk has called it for Raphael Warnock. We have called it for Raphael Warnock. Red Eagle Politics, unfortunately, has called this for Warnock because the math is not there for Herschel Walker, and that's the way it is. So what can I say? At least there was some suspense, but we have a lot of soul searching to do as a party, as a movement, and a lot of people are going to have the wrong takeaways about that. I'll be here to counteract them while I can, but what can I say? Like the stream before you go. Subscribe if you're new. Marilyn Degatti83 says, is all hope lost? Not necessarily. I don't think that a black-pilled mindset is going to save this country at all. You're not going to be able to win if you think you're going to lose, period. That's one of the reasons why I think that this runoff result was the way it was. But Georgia in and of itself as a state, it should not be a top priority for the Republicans. It shouldn't be. Andrew Mortensen says, thanks for being my favorite channel, bro. Rep24. Well, not old enough to run, but thank you for the super chat. Thanks for your support. Stars says, all I know is only way to live free and happy is the military option. Military is the only way. Thanks for the super chat. So we'll see. But it's, again, this is the last election. It's a fitting way to end, I guess you would say, because, well, we lost this year in many swing states and we lost here. But, it can't happen. Herschel Walker's political career is over. I'll say that much. He's not going to be able to run for anything. I don't really even know if he will want to at this point. Papa Tango says Tucker v. Trump 24. Tucker's not going to challenge Trump. Now, if that happened, if it was Tucker against Trump, it'd be a lot easier to defect than if it's like an establishment-backed, Trump-friendly conservative who's been a part of the establishment, than it would be to defect for that person. But I'm still with Trump 2024, and I think that it's not looking like it's going to be that easy to win the primary compared to a year ago, or even to win the general. This whole, like, even like the whole let's go Brandon energy, like the whole anti-Biden stuff, you don't see that as much as you used to, even though his approval rating is so low. And I think it's because of all the infighting you're seeing on the right wing. So we can't lose our message moving forward, regardless of whoever we support. But a lot of people will, and that's an issue. But there's just like, it's a bloodbath out there. I can't imagine in real life it would be nearly this bad. I mean, pretty much everyone I know in real life backs Trump, but some of the older people are a little bit iffy or back DeSantis, and they're more malleable. I'll say that. They're more malleable. But my anecdotes are not necessarily the entire country. But I do imagine that there's less divide in the party, but there just needs to be a much better way of looking at the electoral system. And regardless of whoever the nominee is, they're going to have to look into that. And Trump has expressed support for conservative ballot harvesting. He's also said that we need to ban mail-in voting. I don't think the two are mutually exclusive, but I think he's got to be careful about how he words this stuff moving forward. And that's the way it is. So I think we do need to do both, by the way. I think that we need to use the system where it will benefit us, and then where it will not benefit us, or where we can ban it, or when we take power, then we can rework the electoral system. But we can use it to our advantage if we try. Top Dog Obedience says if the Republican Party doesn't change, they'll continue to lose votes. They better learn to fight. We need to gut the leadership. We do. Democrats will vote for whoever. Republicans have this infighting. It's very, very unhelpful, mainly because the party's not where the base is. That's an issue. Sam Madsen says the Georgia State House gerrymander failed too. Republicans ended up losing 2 seats, and that's not going to help them. Not going to help them in the long run. Now, in Congress, you got 2 solid America First fighters in Collins and in McCormick. Not Dave McCormick from Pennsylvania, obviously, but Rich McCormick, the good McCormick. Political Watcher says, could the reps have won if they had a better candidate than Herschel? Yeah, I think so. I absolutely think so. I don't think that that's really being disputed here. Herschel had his flaws, but the whole GOP backed him, so they could blame Trump when McConnell, Nikki Haley, all these other people who are very non-Trumpian also backed Herschel over other people. So, I don't know. Trump only endorsed Herschel because Herschel was going to win that nomination. And Trump endorsed a bunch of people that he felt like would win the nomination. That was the critique of Trump. But now that some of these candidates fell short, now they blame Trump because his candidates lost, even though they were blaming him for just endorsing whoever would win the nomination. So it's just, regardless of however they try to spin it, it's always anti-Trump, anti-Trump, anti-Trump. Nick Ada says Decision Desk called it for Warnock. Yeah, I called it too. It's over. This thing is done. Warnock's going to go there for 6 years. And that's not a good thing. But what can I say? All right, guys. I think that we're going to end it here. Make sure you guys like the stream. Subscribe before you go. And I will see you guys with a video tomorrow on this very election. And we'll continue to make content throughout the rest of the year and next year and the year after that. But this was definitely not the best election cycle overall. Disappointing all around. There were some positive things, but the positive things are probably going to work against the movement in the long run, and we'll be discussing that as well. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit that bell if you're sub, join the website, buy the merch, etc. You can get this coffee mug right here. You can get the t-shirt that I'm wearing. All great stuff, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Red Eagle, out.